This is a masterpiece. Yeah, I'm speechless. This might be your favorite series ever.
I would say so.
This entire book felt like payoff. So an emotional payoff of everything that's been built up throughout this series.
Sun Eater is the actual correct story to exemplify the idea of journey before destination. More so than Stormlight Archive.
We know how this ends, reader. I haven't had a kissing a book thumbnail since Red Rising.
Welcome everyone to the Tuna Realm podcast. My name is Richard.
My name is Austin.
As you can tell by thumbnail, title, everything else, the fact that I have notes, what? We're talking about something special today. We're talking about Book 6 of the Sun Eater Saga by Christopher Rocchio, Disquiet Gods. If I sound a little bit more animated, it's because, spoiler alert from, my face, fucking love this book. So I'm excited to share it with you all. I do want to lay the groundwork of something. There are text threads on our Patreon and our social media and everywhere else where Austin will say his thoughts about it, and I deliberately don't read, so we can have a spontaneous response on this podcast. I'm gonna make an educated assumption that he likes the book. Probably.
Mm-hmm.
That's my guess.
I do.
That I know for sure.
I do.
But I don't know where his ranking is or any of his particular thoughts about the book. So we're gonna find out together today. Austin, what are your thoughts on Disquiet Gods?
Spoiler free for the first 5 to 10 minutes per usual.
Yes, spoiler free, but you're on book 6 of a series, so spoilers up to 1 through 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm speechless.
Speechless good, speechless bad. Like, he let you down so hard that you can never recover.
I'm smiling because I get to sit here and talk about one of my new favorite books with you for 3 hours.
Yeah!
Because this book, I haven't had a kissing a book thumbnail since Red Rising. So I've loved a lot of books since then. I certainly have.
So
this is
Disquiet Gods?
This is not just my favorite Sun Eater book. It's the best Sun Eater book, bar none. It's Howling Dark, but better in every way. It's Howling Dark on steroids, and all the things I love from Sun Eater. It's almost as if Rocchio listened to a person he never had met before at the time of writing this book. It's almost as if he said, oh, what would Austin want in this book? And he did everything I wanted. Everything I wanted in this book.
Oh, yeah.
Where this is, you can say this for some books that you like, that, hey, I love this book. And even if it's not the highest quality thing, because you like Blues Brothers. I always like to bring
the
that
highest quality movie ever made.
This is on a just subjective level. This is my personal favorite. I love it. I'm trying to quell down just for a second here. I'm getting emotional thinking about this right now. This is a masterpiece in every sense of the word. This is one of the books I read and finished and asked myself, how did he write this? How do you physically write a book like this? It blew my mind. Blew my mind in every way, because when we get to the spoilers, we'll dive deep into the book. Obviously we know Rocchio, and I texted him at a portion of this book, and the first thing I texted him with one of my new favorite books. This is a top 5 book of all time for me.
Yeah.
I texted him saying, Rocchio, you got a chess term wrong. What a dickhead I am, because I know that he gets uncomfortable with praise as well. So I'm not going to call him up or get on the thing and just
the
go.
The text thread
endlessly.
Is for criticism. The YouTube video is for praise.
Right after I finished, then he messaged saying, Austin, I heard you liked Disquiet Gods, because I was posting everywhere going, top 5 book. Holy crap. I can't believe this. And I said, yeah, that's an understatement. And then I came out with, why your ranking? Where does it rank for you of just in Sun Eater?
Okay, so as soon as I finished it, I was like, it's at least as good as my favorite, Demon in White, which is a top 5 book for me.
It's as good as
It's
that.
at least as good. Ask me on someday, and I'll tell you differently. But it has now been a couple weeks since I've sat, reflected with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's better than Demon in White. It's my favorite. It's
also a top 5 book for you of all time.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, me too.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Rocky is going to take over my top 5.
He's got 2.
He's got 2 in there.
Because, my previous favorite was Howling Dark.
Yeah.
And Demon in White would be 3rd for me.
Mhm.
But this is unequivocally the best of his books. And I think obviously people will subjectively differ, but I think if you're talking on a quality standard for what he accomplished,
No, on a pure
this book is an
skill.
accomplishment.
Yeah, no, there's aspects, maybe themes don't work with you, or a character particularly never really gelled with you. Whatever, the subjective opinions on the direction the book takes. Fine. On a technical level of
Skill.
plot structure, dialogue, the handling of themes, whether you agree with them or not, it is masterful work. I think a particular aspect of the book that he learned from. So I know Rocky has said that Demon in White was one of the books like he just kind of flew off the handle, and he doesn't understand why it gets the praise it does. Because it's almost a first draft for him. And I think the biggest praise with Demon in White is the plot, the pacing. The plot pacing is wonderful. Just getting these perfect little arcs that all come together. It on the edge of your seat while not being too fast. It was perfectly paced book. It's my biggest praise for that. Disquiet Gods also does the exact same thing. It feels like a Demon in White paced book, and that's the perfect pacing.
It is all of
love
Rocchio's best qualities
100%.
in a book.
The philosophical, thought-provoking nature of Howling Dark with the pacing of Demon in White.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Give it to me. Oh.
With the action and excitement of all of the books, too.
Ash is a Man. Ash is a Man. All of them have the great action, great adventure, all that stuff. But
yeah, this book really, this book doesn't deserve me guffawing at you going, oh, I love them, because that's a less mature Austin. No, it's not. This book, Rich, when I finished this, I was hovering on the call. Richard, have to wait for the podcast to talk about it, because then we get it all out, and it's so much more exciting to just fresh talk about it and being able to dive into everything on the book with you. I am stoked, and I know I'm stoked too, because when I finished it, I knew, I was like, Rich loves this book, because I know your taste well enough to know you're gonna love this book, and it's just that perfect marriage of just yes, I know you have some intellect enough to enjoy this masterpiece. We've said nothing about the book at this point. It's still spoiler free. No. I want to just give some context into, if you haven't read the series and you're listening to this right now, Empire of Silence, I did not like as a book. For book 1, it's controversial. Some people like it, some people don't.
I thought it was mid.
Get through it and get to this book. Honestly, if you are still teetering on the series, if you don't like Howling Dark, then probably not for you. But however, I would say if you want to give it the full try, get through Demon in White, because Demon in White, I think, has the things Demon in White is some people's favorite in the series still.
Yeah.
So please read this series. Please read Sun Eater. It's one of my favorite series ever. And here's the thing, too. This is book 6. Red Rising and Sun Eater have a book 7 coming out. Now, Red Rising isn't announced yet. They will both be sci-fi series with 7 books in them. And we're going to see which one's my favorite. I don't even know. I don't know.
A non-spoilerly question on this.
What?
If we're going to compare Christopher Rocchio's Sun Eater to Red Rising, both, 6 books currently. 6 books currently in.
Yes.
Red Rising has had 2 actually disappointing books for you. Seems like Rocky only has 1, and it's the first one. Would you say that Sun Eater is actually better than Red Rising for you as a series? We are now.
here's why it's going to be up in there until book 7, because Sun Eater has 2 5 stars from me. Oh, by the way, my spoiler-free rating's a 5-star on Disquiet Gods.
Yeah, 5 stars.
What was yours? Here's the
fine.
Category breakdown below. See below screen here. That's our category breakdown. So Sun Eater,
not a very diverse set of scores here.
my 2 5 stars are this and Howling Dark for the series. In Red Rising, I have 3 5 stars. So I have 3 hit the 5-star mark for Red Rising series, 2 hit the 5-star, but the overall this has a higher average aggregate. I have to wait for book 7.
Yeah.
I have, because I need to see how each series ends. Endings matter, as we found out with Stormlight and others.
Yeah.
So, what about you? I mean, obviously, this is higher than Red Rising for you. I'd assume this might be your favorite series ever.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Give us a pause here. Actually, for the sake of the video,
it's a special video, so we got to show. Hey, Fig.
This is my cat. He snuck into the library. I'm gonna
go. Okay.
dip it outside.
All right, we'll do a quick cut. We'll be right back. All right,
Yep.
We're back. So just to give some information into the book now, spoiler-free information. It took Christopher Rocchio 2 to 3 months to write a single chapter in this book. It took him that long to write chapter 40, which the midpoint of this book, I'm not going to reveal anything, is when my mind began to be blown, as one would say. It's an 8,000 to 9,000 word chapter, and that alone took him 2 to 3 months to write. It's one of my favorite.
I think almost
chapters
everyone
ever.
would say that's the most important chapter in this book.
In the series. Yeah.
It needed to be handled well.
Yes, and it was incredibly important. And there's certain books where I know Discovery with J.J. Mitten, read that book if you haven't. Also, incredible book. There's a chapter they had in their book where if that chapter lands or doesn't, it determines whether you're gonna follow the author's vision for it. That's a series vision, very important chapter that you need to pull off. So that's how long it took to just write a single chapter in this book. I also want to bring up. Sorry, I'm rambling off a couple notes here, but another one is we were told to read Dregs of Empire before reading this book because Dregs is a novella that follows. This is spoilers only up to book 5, so we know that at the end of book 5, Ashes of Man, we see Lorien helps Hadrian escape from prison after slapping the Emperor. That's where Ashes of Man leaves off. Dregs of Empire, we follow Lorien. And I would say, so for those out there, I would not recommend reading Dregs beforehand.
I completely agree. I would have rather not read it. Now, there is a different novella I haven't read yet, though, so look in the comments and see what other people think. But the Queen Amid Ashes is another novella that I've heard you should read before Disquiet Gods. Maybe that one.
I like that one.
Not Queen Amid Ashes. There's a Tales of the Sun Eater.
Oh, that one.
Sort of focusing on a certain
character,
female character in this book. Nick, please put the name below here when I actually put it in the notes.
I have not read that one either.
But it focuses on a certain character that maybe could use some extra development from a novella before jumping into this book. However, it would spoil to me a great moment.
If you are like us and you like the time skip of kind of getting thrown into the changes of what happened to Hadrian and other characters, just keep going with the main series and then fill in after you finish, maybe fill in those other books in between. That's just personally, because I would have liked to be more in the dark about what happened to Lorien Aristides going into this book. But obviously did not affect my enjoyment of this book whatsoever. So we already gave our spoiler-free rating 5 stars. Anything you want to include at all before we go to spoilers of explaining why this book's the best?
If someone's still listening and they haven't really read Sun Eater, we've kept away from basically any spoilers of the series up to this point, roughly. One of the important aspects of a series, especially one of these grand epics, is normally what is the series trying to say? What's the ultimate message? What is the theme of it, and how does it handle it? This book makes me believe that Rocchio, of course, knows what he's doing with the theme, and that it's going in a interesting, thoughtful direction that will marry so well with the story that's being told. And these characters, everything feels right. Unlike Brent Weeks' Lightbringer series, where I love all these different aspects of it, but ultimately the theme does not mesh well with the characters and plot that he was telling, and it ultimately buggered the ending. This book is not that. It is going in a direction that will satisfy. So take that. Please read the series.
The first words out of my mouth from finishing this was beautiful in my head, because I didn't just finish the book and say beautiful out loud. Imagine every time I finish a book, I proclaim into the heavens a certain word. What's the last, what are you looking at?
Delicious.
So
delectable.
It just gets worse. Okay, spoilers time.
Yep.
Spoiler warning for Disquiet Gods, Book 6 of Sun Eater. All right. Emotional impact. What'd you give it out of 5 stars?
Yeah, fucking 5.
Yeah.
I was cheering. I was crying. I was everything. Every emotion that was supposed to be felt, I felt. At every point.
5 stars. I was floored. And as we're getting in the spoiler section now, I have like 14 pages of notes. This is a daunting task because there is so much I loved about the book. I'm trying to make sure we say everything. Because there's a lot of details we could miss.
How do you want to break down the emotion? Because
Oh
we're going to
my
be going
God.
through the plot moments.
Oh, yeah.
One, because we'll be getting into all these moments and details in the plot.
The lore, the world building. Holy
Fuck.
shit.
Fucking hell.
Holy
Jesus
crap.
Christ.
Okay. Emotionally. You were floored.
Yes.
We said beforehand that it did all the things of the previous Sun Eater books, just in...
It's the magnum opus so far.
Yes, it's
everything that we
opus.
like, but the best it could be.
Yes. Something I didn't know, so maybe we'll start with this. Something I didn't know. Bless you. Where the book essentially starts, we're on Jad first, but then going to Sabratha. Sabratha, that whole first journey of the book, first third or so, or maybe up to the mid, but that first third, that initially wasn't in the overall outline of the book because of the series at all. Because when Rakio was told to split up Kingdoms of Death and Ashes of Man, that was originally one book, those two. When he was told to split those up, he had to add scenes in Ashes of Man at the beginning of the book to make it seem like an introduction to a book. So he kind of added some of the Hapsis stuff. So that whole Hapsis in this arc that we see initially wasn't in the outline of the Sun Eater saga at all, but then the whole Sabratha stuff, which I was already riveted by, was added in and makes so much sense contextually. And it was so okay. So I just thought it was a neat fact going in. The whole start of this book with Sabratha wasn't the initial plan, but it seems so intentional. This to emotionally explain throughout this book of all the hallmarks this achieved. My biggest out loud what the hell moment started in when Hadrian died again, that big scene. And he had died in Howling Dark, and that was a huge WTF moment of, I cannot believe that the narrator I'm following just got his head cut off. And then it connected so perfectly to the theme of Theseus and all the good juicy stuff you'll see in our Howling Dark review in that book. This book pulls the trick a second time.
But he does it the right way. Because you can't just do it again. You have to raise the stakes. There's more to it. And you add the further context of, Cassandra seeing his dead body. Him now not really just suddenly resurrected and unknown of what happened. No, he's brought to the future of it's a different type of rebirth. And he gets to meet. Not the Quiet. No, he does kind of meet the Quiet, but he meets one of the last good Watchers. The Watchers that still follow the rules, follow the guidance of the Quiet.
This one, because I want to make sure we have all the names here.
I do have the name here. It is
Ramathar. Let me make sure I get it right too.
do I have it right?
This one is holy crap. Ragama, yes.
Ragama the Watcher.
Yes. Ragama's purpose is vengeance. That's that Watcher's purpose. But yeah, that scene, so in Howling Dark, when his head gets cut off, it's kind of the shock factor of, wait, you can do that to it. The genius of that was you think Hadrian's safe the whole time, and he's alive. He survives all the way to the end of the series. he ends up destroying a son. So obviously he's not dead. So it's the immediate intrigue of how does he come back in Howling Dark, of what kind of world building, interesting answer do you have here for how Hadrian is alive right now. And then we get in all the mysteries about the Quiet, and just that's where the world just sucks you in. It's such a good it's just such a good hook and intrigue that creates. This death of
mostly the thing is, it's leaning on the question, it's leaning on the mystery. You're drawn in mostly because of how did this happen, why it seems like it's important. It's not just an ass pull because he was cornered by the plot. He can't lean on the mystery in this book, so he gives us the answers, which is so much harder.
This book has so many answers too, and leaves many questions.
Yeah.
But so when we see that scene of him getting poisoned and shriveling to nothing, and I'm kind of, as we're watching this, I'm going, he might not die a second time.
Well, I'm also going like, is he going to use his powers to like
undo that or
undo it somehow? Like, he's not going to die because he has his time manipulation abilities, or his reality manipulation abilities, and he just dies. I'm like, well, all right. Where are we going this one? I thought we had a plot to get to, and he's just gone now. All right.
And then chapters 38 through 40 of how fascinating it was. I could not put my eyes down when reading about the city at the end of time.
Yeah.
And learning and getting these answers that have been so built up, which we'll heavily discuss in the world building section, but just how invested I was from the beginning in Sabratha to all the way to Consagura and the orphan at the end of the book. Every single detail, this entire book felt like payoff. So an emotional payoff of everything that's been built up throughout this series. We're getting answers to, and it's all coming together. It just constantly felt like that. And we start off by this entire mystery behind Ushara, the first watcher at Sabratha, and that very heart-pumping moments. He both, I think this is the best action he's done yet, and it's the best. It's the best again of everything, I think. But even the action set pieces were so good. His prose also helps with that, but everything.
How much are you thinking? Like, when I was reading the story, when we're on Sabratha, it felt like the climax of a novel. And I'm going like, this is the first narrative arc.
Yeah.
This is the mini arc. We're battling gods and watchers, and Hadrian's just splitting time and I'm going, holy shit, this is the ending of a book. And for him, it's the beginning, which Rocchio did. He told us in one of the interviews of like a reason why he started off with like the very first chapter of Empire of Silence. He decided to, Hadrian destroyed the sun, wiped out the sun, gave us the ending of the series first, is because he didn't want to lean on the mystery and the cliffhanger to get people to read on. He wanted, it's almost like a challenge of, I'm going to give you the ending first, and you're still going to want to read it. You're going to know what happens,
if I remember,
and you want to know why.
If I remember correctly, too, he didn't want people focusing on that. He wanted them to be able to focus on, as we're reading this, we know how this ends, so we will be able to be more attentive to what's being said, because we're not going, how does this end? Which way is this going? All this theory craft. I mean, there's still plenty of theories you can have while doing this, but I see exactly what he means by that of, I'm going into book 7 knowing exactly the specific moment of him destroying his son is going to happen, but how, the journey to get there, all the themes about entropy, which we'll get into
of any series, is Sun Eater like the actual, is it the pinnacle example of journey before destination? Rocchio gives you the destination.
That's in my notes. Yeah,
here you go, destination done. You're still going to enjoy the journey.
Well, that's exactly in my notes, and a big theme he's getting at, which there's a lot. Yes, but that whole portion, you're right, of Ushara and that ending felt already like the climax of a story.
And it's him doing it again of like, oh no, I'm going to start the book with what other authors would maybe do as an ending. And I'm going to give you this big bombastic, and it almost feels like a challenge to himself of, all right, now I have to top this. That's how it felt like to me, of going like, oh, Rocky, you got balls to start the novel with this. Like, imagine how disappointing if you start there and you have an okay rest of the book and you go, I like the beginning the most. Like, that would be disappointing. But with how bombastic and exciting and, you know, curiosity stoking, like, it did everything. The beginning, not just like an action set piece, but the emotional pull with Hadrian and his daughter Cassandra, the lore building with the Watchers and how he's splitting time, he makes clones of himself. All of this new information about the Cielsen and their relationship with the Watchers, everything. We get that all in the beginning, and you go, how are you going to top it here? Oh, I loved that.
And I know he topped it twice for me too, because if we're to split this book into 3 sections, there's more you could split it into. But the Sabratha section, then the culmination of events there. Then we have the council meeting and the council and discussion and him dying section.
Yes.
Also included with him going to Latara, the planet where the monarch is. And Monarch Consagora, that whole middle section. And then we have the end section with Consagora and them going to Vorgosos. If we're to split that into those 3 sections, each one of those just increases in enjoyment for me in different ways as well. The council section, not even the him dying moment, but already getting to see all the characters in play. Oh, do you want to go bring Fig out?
Cat caught it.
Oh, 1 second. Another cat count came in. All right, Fig's not coming back in, we promise. Cat's gone. Okay.
I had to lock the door.
So imagine the cat's been opening the door the whole time.
It's already done it once.
Oh, God.
I know.
But each of those 3 sections, okay, that's what we're talking about. Not even the death moment, but how interested I was in the political drama of him seeing the leader of the Tafrosi. And there was that dialogue back and forth between him and Satha, I think his name was. I'll get that right later when we talk about characters. But yeah, Satha, of Hadrian talking about Valka, saying that she belonged to me, and Satha saying no, she belonged to her clan. And then him dropping the Hadrian plus 1,000 aura points with this line as soon as he speaks out. I'm gonna quote this. There's gonna be a lot of quotes throughout this podcast, but this is in that council meeting. Before just speaking straight to, or this might be directed at Satha, but he speaks up and he says, as people are saying, hey, you're asking, Solan Empire, you're asking us to fight for you? Like, after they're essentially trying to see why they should fight for the Solan Empire and fight against the Cielsen. And Hadrian stands up and goes, we ask you to fight for all men. The voice sounded like a shot, like a grenade hurled from the highest level to that white and black tessellated floor. It was a voice so many of them knew. A voice from countless datanet holographs, from propaganda films and broadcast footage going back for hundreds of years. Every child in the Imperium had doubtless heard it, been shown recordings in history class, darkly polished, severe, like the voice of some villain in a Eudorian mask. It was my own voice, and I found that I was standing 600 some eyes staring up at me. So when we're talking about the emotional pull here, it's even a little scene like that, or just him saying words at the council.
Yeah.
And all the eyes staring at him, and Rockio, like nobody else, putting this beautiful prose together to express. As soon as you read that paragraph, you're looking, wait, Hadrian is history itself. People did grow up learning about him.
This is what just the masterpiece of this work, of starting from Empire Silence and from there hearing about Simeon the Red and Consagara, the legend of Consagara. And by this book, Hadrian is about on level of historical significance and living legend of Consagara. And if anything, better. Like, he's outlived, outgrown the legend of Consagara. And you could only have that with a series that has just the interesting take of doing these large, hundreds of years time jump between books. Oh my God. So good. Like,
this entire thing was epic.
That's a tiny moment that can't be done in a single book. It needed 6 books, hundreds of years in time skips, and seeing the journey of Hadrian outlive generations. That
So
it's necessary for that moment to hit.
when we're
I love
talking
it.
about the emotional impact, it's everything, even to that small paragraph, is payoff. It feels as though everything we've been reading, it almost feels this is the penultimate book. Or it is the penultimate, because that means second to ultimate. Yeah. It feels like this is the last book. Yeah, I think that's right. Okay, so it feels like that in a lot of ways, even though we know it isn't. And that going back to that main thing of there being crescendo after crescendo of emotional investment and insane set pieces, I couldn't believe when it hit the midpoint and he died, and we get that the reveals from the Watcher and the Unmade, this godlike figure, all of this, which I to some readers and to ourselves too can be confused. We're going to break down and try to explain best we can, best I can. I think I understand it.
I do too. I
So
think I do.
I also think so. So we'll see. Correct us if I'm wrong, but I didn't think that could be topped, and then brought into the whole Vorgosos and Kansagura fighting Kansagura mission, and that also blew my mind in another cajillion ways. And a lot of that was the lore we got of finding out. Sorry, we're going to repeat this later too, but finding out with Kansagura was actually the one that gave the Cielsen their communication devices. The Americanii, they were on Vorgosos, actually had a Watcher and somehow destroyed a Watcher, and we're looking, and then
but also that the Americanii worked with the demons,
and
more intimate.
Every reveal is awesome.
That the Americanii machines didn't just take over humans. Like, it wasn't the humans became slaves to the machines. Humans worked together with the Americanii. It was more complicated story with it. Lovely. And the fact that it more realistically, it was a story of the Americanii machines and humans against the Watchers.
Yeah. Yeah. So many reveals. So obviously, our emotions are imploding here. And I will also say, before we go into thought-provokingness, this is a scene that I think you might even agree with, or others would. But Valka being cloned.
I was going to say, if you weren't, one of the emotional scenes to me is part of that scene. But continue on.
Yeah, so seeing Valka again, that entire aspect of the book, having Valka again.
Oh.
Yes, Valka did die in Ashes of Man, and if you'll see our review there, I still feel the same. Of Ashes of Man, I think the Valka death was signaled very clearly. Of they were saying, "Hey, we're gonna escape. We're gonna leave all of this behind." And her finally switching her mind and saying she does want to have a kid were signals that she was going to die. And again, I don't think that the fact that it was a twist of Valka dying. I don't even think it was meant to be that much of a shock, because we know how this ends, reader. We know how this ends. It's
and how much he's been talking about, like, the fact that Valka is not there with him.
Mm-hmm. So you could assume Valka is anyways. However, we don't see Valka die in Ashes of Man. She's there and then gone. That's kind of almost a little bit more. Go ahead.
It's painful in a particular way for Hadrian. There's one thing seeing your loved one just die in front of you in kind of a gruesome way, but there's another of just she's there and then suddenly she's not. And there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can change. It's just because he keeps thinking to himself, like, he didn't see her die, so he just thinks to himself, like, he feels like she's gonna walk right through the door. She just walked away. And it's painful for him. In many ways, him seeing the Valka clone die in front of him in his arms, in many ways could be seen as a bit of catharsis for Hadrian in some twisted, fucked up way of at least he got to see her die. Where his Valka just...
A false version of her.
But still.
It was more the emotionally pulling moment in that whole sequence for me was him justifying in his head that this is not actually Valka.
Yes.
Because you could imagine an identical clone of somebody you knew and cared about. Your mother comes back. You know your mom's dead.
Yeah. And
it seems like your mom. It looks like your mom. Everything's there. Now, obviously, there was a bit of differences because Kansagura made Valka emphasize portions that made her even different than she was before, almost more beautiful in some ways, also more
the thing that got me, the
On
emotional
commands too. That part.
the
no.
emotional moment for me was him, Hadrian, seeing her eyes, because the Tavarosi like have these false eyes that are, mechanical in nature, and he gets to see her natural eyes and realizes the same eye color as Cassandra, and realize that his daughter has her mother's eyes, and he never knew. That broke me. That moment was oh, God. Oh God, that one hurt. That was the emotional moment that tore at the heartstrings for me.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
God. Oh, but everything about that was both touching, torturous, painful. God, the Consagara giving her the commands and twisted torture of her in a way. That was messed the fuck up. God
Yes.
damn.
Yes. And so essential for what the book's going for too, because Cassandra, we'll talk about in characters too, but Cassandra, you're not immediately pulled in. The thing about Cassandra's character is I'm not immediately going, look at how unique this daughter is and how much of an incredible character she is. It's Hadrian's relationship to Cassandra that's important. And you'll see as he's talking to the Unmade, as he's talking to this god, he decides to keep going on and not to end the cycle, not to kill God, essentially, because he says, this is the world my daughter lives in. And when he comes back to life, and the one person, a lot of people doubt that it's him. Lorien comes up to him and shoots Hadrian, and just point blank shoots him, and he goes, "It is you!" Yeah, bro. Hey, I know my Hadrian always survives gunshots. And so, but Cassandra, who'd never seen him die the first time, is shook to her core. And it's the one person he wants to believe that it's still him. Hadrian is his daughter. He only cares about her validation. He only cares about her beliefs. And this is from an interview we did with Rocchio as well. It's so fun to read this and also know the genius mind Rocchio is. I just really respect him. I don't mean to. I think often we could put authors on this pedestal of, like, as fan bases and whatnot, but I really do love Rocchio's work, and I think he's an amazing person. So, but he was explaining to us in an interview that something about parenthood in his life.
Mm-hmm.
We're sorry to go into this. I just think it's interesting, but it's something in his life. His greatest fear is his daughters growing up to hate him or resent him, or something of that sort. And you can see in this book, and obviously a lot of the faith stuff, which we'll get into themes as well, which I think is brilliant. But you'll see it. One of Hadrian's biggest fears here is his daughter means everything to him, and his relationship with his daughter means everything to him. And even though I wasn't looking at Cassandra as this person who I have a history with, we've seen her grow up in books. No, she just pops up. She's already in her 40s or however old she is at this time. But Hadrian's devotion and his spirit throughout this book was awesome to follow. I just, everything done in here, which I hope we'll give more context and fill up so much we didn't talk about as we go forward. Is there anything else you want to talk emotionally before we move on to, I think, the most important category? So.
Lastly, I do want to say the excitement that we leave up. The final act of this series,
Yes.
the final act of this book was thrilling from beginning to end. I think he took a note from you of how you thought Demon in White ending would just went on a tad too long in the action.
Yeah.
This one did not.
He took my note.
He did take your note. It was maybe just as long page count, but there are many stories inside of this larger act and larger siege of,
and it was broken
Vargosos.
up by plot beats. So when action would be happening, wait, there's clones of Hadrian. Action's happening. Wait, Velka. There's action happening. Consagur died. There's action happening. Brethren. It felt that we were progressing throughout the battle rather than just like one long battle sequence of we're battling stuff.
And I wanted to say, like, emotionally, at the end when Hadrian has accomplished his goal and he is now in control of the Demiurge, I am hyped. I am so excited of Hadrian on the Demiurge, the most powerful ship in the galaxy. I am hyped.
Driven by this strange orphan thing.
This Lovecraftian monster
Come
creature.
Come on.
Oh, so good.
Okay, I don't know. I didn't say this in the spoiler-free section because it could go there. But my biggest, I posted this and got some people worried. I said this book was the most disappointing thing to me, knowing that book 7 can't top it. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way humanly possible. And of course, I think it's possible. I really hope so. However,
the man that could write the rest of the series, like, come on, Rockio, you got to do it for us.
If book 7 tops, it's got to be my favorite book. It's just that's what I mean by why it's such a Herculean task, because that's how amazing this book is. I can't envision something topping this.
Yeah.
So,
but it does lead. It just sets the stage for
yes.
this. It's not that he did too much before the ending. He set the stage right.
Yep.
But thing is, think to yourself of a lot of before we would have little nuggets of what's going to happen next, really. But ultimately, there's a handful of items that we have yet to see that it's been hinted toward of, the death of the emperor. But there's that moment that we have yet to see. But other than that, he's on the demiurge, and we know with the demiurge, he blows up the sun. What happens in between then? We
do know other things. So we know, for example, Celine and him don't get together. Cassandra lives. We know these characters live, which is the interesting thing. But we're not going, hey, and when the sun explodes, is Cassandra going to die? No, we know she lives. We're not asking
the standard details that you go into a final book.
Who's going to live? Who's going to die?
Who's going to die? How is it going to end? What is it? All of those questions are answered. And even the one of we haven't seen the emperor be killed with the Knight of Knives or something. There was some reference.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we know he dies. Okay. How will it happen? I'm sure it'll be fun, but that we know it happens. It's not as important.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm so excited for a book that I know how it ends, and I know who lives, who dies, everything. But I want to know all the little moments in between. Yes. I'm dying to know.
Yeah. Yep. We're going to be traveling to the opening in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So if you're this book,
if you're also going to go to the opening event for Rockio's 7th book, we will be there.
We'll see you there. Okay, we are now moving on to thought-provokingness for this book. I gave it a 5 stars. It floored me.
Yeah, I was wavering initially between 4.5 and 5 stars, and then realized I'm holding Rockio to an unreasonable. I was holding Rockio to the Rockio standard, and that's completely unfair. So yeah, 5 stars. It floored me.
And this book is so thought-provoking, and the themes are so profound, and us diving into this, we want to get it so right. We just had a 50-minute conversation that we just cut from. We just discussed thought-provokingness. I think we went over 45, 50 minutes about it.
Roughly.
As we were talking about it, it was a true ramble of, I think we had to talk about this book once already to now talk about it again and get this not just more accurate, but communicate it better. We really did ramble off, and
we were continuity.
Yeah,
for the video.
Yeah,
drinks were gathered. Different clip, so you know.
We want to get this right. We want to talk about this in a way because the themes in this are profound, and Rockio really, this is his magnum opus, and I want to do it due diligence. We have our notes down, and we discussed it, like I said, just for 50 minutes. But now that we've polished that in a way, I think we can talk about it better now. Or we want to get it right. This is an important book for us. So clearly, top 5 for us. So, okay. What themes were there, Rich? There's 2 big ones we've narrowed down because we were rambling everywhere. Let's focus this.
The 2 that we will talk about in this section are the most important.
Mm-hmm.
First is the nature of suffering and free will, and how do those go together.
Mm-hmm.
And second is the quality of a human soul, and what is it? What is its nature? Those are the 2 things that this book goes over. Let's start off with the suffering. Suffering, and is there free will?
Light work.
Yeah, determinism, all that fun stuff.
Fate, entropy, if everything does just end and we are at the city at the end of the universe, what is the point?
And that ultimately, no matter what you do personally, that ending is already written. Entropy is inevitable no matter what you do. That there will be death, it will all end. Then does anything even matter?
The question here is, does inevitability rob agency? That's the question being posed here. And Ragama, the watcher that Hadrian meets, says, to your kind, you think that what is inevitable robs you of agency, but it does not. Were you not told long ago that your soul is in your hands? The fate of your universe is certain death. That has been true almost since the beginning, since my brothers abandoned their charge, but your own death is not certain, nor that of any of your kind. Then goes on to say, you believe that the whole of creation hangs in your balance, that if you fail, he will have never have been. This is when Hadrian's proposed with, are you going to destroy the egg, kill
And
the
he gets
unmade?
angry because that's what I was told. I was told if I fail that, the god, the quiet, does not actually get born.
Right. And the Ragama is explaining this, that you think that what is inevitable robs you of this agency, but unmade will always be this God figure. And to clarify, this book is very heavily influenced. It's obviously Catholic themes in this book and the discussion of faith. When this unmade speaks to Hadrian, quotes the book of Job, and it literally says, I am. And in the book of Job, the quote it exactly uses is, let me control tab, book of Job, says, where were you when I laid the foundations of earth? The quiet says to Hadrian, and that's literally taken from the book of Job. So clearly there's this inspiration here, these thematic elements of faith and meaning. So the question is asked, and you see this in debates between theists and atheists, of why do we suffer? Of if it's all also inevitable, entropy exists, we all wither and die, we're bones and skeletons and what's not, we're just meat puppets. Why? And why does suffering exist? If there's an all-powerful, all-knowing, all-loving God, isn't that hypocritical? How could suffering exist in that case?
Because I think the eye roll from the atheist is ultimately, if the God is all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-good, surely they can do anything. They could make a world with happiness and free will and also no suffering. Just because good requires the necessity of evil and that happiness requires the necessity of sadness in our world doesn't mean that an all-powerful, all-knowing, all-good God couldn't make something else. That's kind of the nature of it.
And the reason that I think this book is thought-provoking in an objective sense of it thematically weaves this all together in a beautiful way. But Rich and I are also very fascinated in this specific kind of discussion. We're reluctant agnostics, you could say, of we do not believe, however, I do hope. And these messages are positive and very optimistic. And you see Hadrian's journey, who has suffered the most of anybody in the Solon Empire, certainly. He's died twice, let alone lost everybody he's ever loved, except Cassandra, who he has left, and Lorraine, who's alive. But he's lost everybody he's ever loved, been tortured by the Ciels, and suffered. He is the pinnacle of suffering, much in the same sense that Jesus suffered and died for our sins. So you could see the parallels in that sense. And there's also a Museum Catholic, Edward, in this book as well.
We get our token Catholic.
We do. We get our token Catholic. You got to have the diversity in there.
Yeah, exactly.
So that all that being said, the answer that is so Ragama, setting up a little bit more, says there's no fate but the fate of all. You are free to choose your own ending as have always been. So, speaking about the sense of suffering, of why do we suffer, the answer that is given from the unmade of why we suffer is we suffer so we can be more like him. That the creator, this unmade, allows the suffering to happen, because suffering and pain is also something that makes us human. How can you have ultimate good without ultimate evil? How can you have goodness and joy without ultimate suffering? And that suffering is what makes life beautiful in that sense. As much as we like to think, endless suffering, and again, the atheist point of view, and logically, you know where we stand. So this is stuff we contemplate about and struggle with constantly. But torture, just meaningless torture, does exist.
Hadrian brings up in this book of that pain is the ultimate foundation of what humans are and what makes us human.
Mm.
That we suffer pain so that everything we do is in avoidance or the alleviation of pain. That we suffer pain so that we can understand and how to minimize it in others. Pain is the teacher of empathy. It is the teacher of justice. Everything that we exist. To be human is to experience pain.
The first form of obedience, or is it last? Whatever order that is, of it's the base
It's the
form
first.
of obedience. He says, pain. Our fear of pain is the foundation of all morality. It is that fear that shapes our world, orders civilization. Our experiences of pain teach us the nature of suffering, and so we are moved to minimize that suffering in others. Pain grounds our reality, is the cornerstone of our interactions with the objective world. Pain makes us human, teaches us to be human.
And I believe that this is the foundational element where why does Hadrian and the Chantry see the extrasolarians to differing degrees as less than human? And why does Hadrian look down on many different types of extrasolarians? And there are degrees. I think it comes down to the removal of pain, and not just the significant pains of, someone suffering terrible bodily injury, but it's a lot more of the little pains of the pain of growing old, and so you give yourself a new body. The pain of not liking the feeling yourself you're ugly, and that you don't like the look of your nose, and this pain of just living with who you are and what you look like, and taking away that pain by, taking away your nose and getting a new nose. The fact that many of the extrasolarians take away the pain of memories. And so a painful memory is just excised, and that was from Howling Dark. And you're seeing these different carvers are able to do things. And the pain of actual pain. You see the agents of Minos basically able to experience anything because they have complete control over pain. They can just turn it off or turn it on at will. And you see the lack of humanity in them because they are very easily and freely able to give out pain to others and suffering on large, grand scales because they've given that all away. They don't understand it anymore. They are less than human. So I think this book kind of cements why Hadrian is so adverse to the extrasolarian culture of changing the human body and our existence to the extreme of avoiding pain.
You're changing what it means to be human in a lot of ways. That suffering.
Not avoiding pain. That's
Minimizing?
Eliminating pain. Of denying pain. That's
Consagura's trying to deny death.
Yes.
He wants to avoid hell.
There's a difference between trying to avoid pain and denying it entirely. And I think that's, if we can go maybe a little further into it, but I think that would be the distinction. Human beings exist to try to avoid pain. We do all these different things. We don't want pain. We don't run to it, embracing it. But there's a difference when you literally turn it off in your brain.
And exactly to that point, Ragama, as he's talking with Hadrian here, says, you believe you fight to reduce the evil in what is. You fight to increase the good. Every person you save, every world left untrampled by evil serves to increase the good in that final accounting. Talk about the final accounting with God they have made. And by the way, Ragama and these watchers are essentially angels, or fallen angels in a sense.
Ragama being one of the still angels, following the quiet, and someone like Ushara or Muyendar is a fallen angel.
And Ragama says, you asked why he, meaning God, does not end all that he has made, because the story is not yet finished even now, and he will not end it until every bead of light has had its day. And the choice now comes to here. The ultimate choice is glory or decay. Will you strive in this inevitable entropy? If things are fated and always will be, you know that there is an end. And why this is thematically resonates so well on top of this, why this has been discussed before. Theists and atheists have discussed the meaning of suffering since the beginning of philosophy. Why it's so important is this entire series is set up with this theme of book 1, page 1, chapter 1, we know how it ends. You know how this ends, reader. We know that Hadrian will destroy a son and will destroy the Ciels and commit this atrocity. We'll see why he does. But the very proposition of the book is asking us as readers to know, yes, we do know how this ends. We do know the universe every star will eventually go out. So why are we reading? Well, the why is in the story itself of
Rocchio gives us the ending and tells us the end in the beginning of like, this is inevitable. This is the end.
This is fated.
There is no wonder. There is no curiosity of how it would, like, what's going to happen at the end. And yet you read on anyway.
And how genius is that? Because his story proves his own thematic element he's putting in here. Not that it proves God, etc. There's a lot there, and I
proves
the
see message
that.
Of there is reason to read. There's reason to exist. There's reason to go on, even if you know the ending. Even if the ending is inevitable.
It's fated and inevitable. Yet we're reading.
Yep.
Why? Because it's the story that matters. It's that human element. It's also the pain and suffering we're experiencing with Hadrian, that Hadrian experiencing does matter in his story, and the reason he does not kill God. He thought this entire time that he was there to, I'll quote it off so that I could have better words from Rocchio. All this time, you thought you were rushing to his rescue, when in truth, he was rushing to yours, right? So he thought this whole entire time he was trying to save the Quiet, this God, but the Quiet was trying to save him the whole time. And his ultimate decision here is he gets this realization that the unmade, this Quiet, this God, he suffered to see our own human suffering. And Hadrian's having this blissful joy as he meets this unmade, and he decides not to do so, not to destroy the unmade, ultimately because this is the world where Cassandra lives. That's the answer he gives.
And the same answer that the Quiet has of why does the Quiet not end the universe if he knows it'll all end, and it ends in entropy. And the Watcher's answer is because the Quiet will not end it until the very last light has its time for its own story. It's the same. It's God looking at his children. Of course he won't end it because his children are here. And it's the same thing with.
Of course he won't end it because Cassandra's here.
Exactly. It's the same. It's the same understanding.
Honestly, that's fucking beautiful too, because I'm not religious. I hope there's a God. And it's why I look up to people like Rocchio and Sun Eater, and obviously we know Rocchio, and I just think he's an amazing guy in the first place, so that helps as well. That I just think he's very intelligent and a great person. But then reading this and seeing how powerful this worldview and the book, how powerful the book comes across, because Hadrian's story almost couldn't be told any other way.
It's not that the message itself is super unique. The fact that our main character's answer for why they continue to suffer is because of their children. That's not a unique angle for a story, but the fact that doesn't feel tacked on to give a cheap feeling of meaning and understanding onto a book that it had nothing to do with. It is the point of this series. Like, I can go back to even a scene that supposedly was added by the publisher. It wasn't even a scene that Rocchio intended to add, but from book one. One of my favorite moments and the thing that sticks out to me so much is the death of Cat in book one. That still stayed with me. You have Hadrian's father trying to teach him about the nature of suffering. Like, you are different than these other, like, you are this noble, you are Palatine, you have this noble, but you are not the same as these other lower born. You will outlive generations of them. You can do not think of yourself as the same. And Hadrian doesn't see that way. And his ultimate teacher is the death of Cat and that pain and realizing his father was right. And it's that moment lesson of like another father to son, parent teaching moment of the father trying to teach his son pain and a lesson. And ultimately, he needed to suffer anyway to understand that lesson. And it's the same thing, the Quiet ultimately have to let Hadrian suffer for him to understand the message at the end.
The Quiet, Hadrian's realization, he says, he, the Unmade, he suffered to see our suffering, and so our suffering made us more like him who knew our every hurt.
Yeah.
And Ragama explains to Hadrian, saying that your kind is more like him than ours, meaning the angels, these watchers that the Unmade created. And sorry, I'm switching in terms because the inspiration, it does seem as though the watchers are like fallen angels or angels, and quoting the Book of Job, there's
The
certain
Quiet
faith elements, the Museum Catholic, there's
the whole focus on, God suffering, suffering for us and understanding us, and the same thing of Jesus, God becoming, God is Jesus and suffering for our sins. All these, it very much like you get it. It is very much inspired and linked that way.
Yes. And again, going to that core thing of why he does not destroy the universe is because this is the world where my daughter lives. How could I destroy it? All that suffering.
Great message.
It's a great message. Yeah. All that suffering existed. All the hurt, all the worst things you could possibly imagine. Yeah. I still don't want to go back. I still don't want to undo the suffering, because without that, this beauty would not be here.
Yep.
That's powerful. And I could certainly see some of the atheist world. Hey, we're agnostic again. Full disclosure of what we believe, just logically what I think. I could see somebody rolling their eyes because it's very on the nose. The religious elements are, I will even say, heavy-handed. I don't mean that in a derogatory way. It's very clear that this is inspired and comes from, you can see the author's presence in a way of, look how much the Unmade is literally a god in this sense. The Watchers literally look as if they are angels, and it is answering this question, looking at suffering from a theist point of view. So I could see the eye roll. Why would you say it's done tactfully or done in a way that is more profound? And even if somebody disagrees with the message of, hey, trying to say God's real, and why can't an all-knowing, all-powerful, all-loving God just say no suffering and we're all great? Which really, I say that in a mocking tone, but that is a serious ethical or philosophical conversation that's been here again for forever. So
ultimately, this kind of gets in. This will tie into the next point of what is a human soul, but its story.
We'll get into that, yeah.
Without suffering, there is no story. It is just existence, entropy. Without the roller coaster ride of life, which is suffering and happiness in many times not equal measures, but those are required. And so a life without suffering is entropy itself. So that it robs you of the story. And so I think the reason why this book does it so well is this is not a message that is tacked on in an artificial way to, rope the reader into feeling something. It is essentially, it's how the book should be. It's integrated so well with the characters, specifically Hadrian, of course, and his relationship with Consagara really heavily just exemplifies this difference between them with the themes. From the very beginning, this is how it was meant to be, and that's why it's so well done.
This is a small moment that happens after he returns, he's alive again. It's chapter 43, and the person he cares about the most of believing that he's alive again is Cassandra. And he says something here that, again, this is where it can get on the nose, but I just admire the beauty of this book, and this is what happens afterwards. He's talking about how the Araucani's primitive understanding opened their eyes to accepting the truth that he's back and he's alive again. And he was accepted more easily by some than others of him being the actual Hadrian and alive again. And he says, I'll quote, Gushal and his men, and to an extent even my own Cassandra, thought they knew too much to believe. I was some extrasolarian contrivance, as Cassandra herself had said, a clone or a golem, I can't say that word, meant to, okay, I'll try, simulacrum, meant to mock or dispirit, or part of some cunning and absurd plot. Their very education had blinded them to what Ramenthanu and Anaz had plainly seen. So,
The bell curve of practical intelligence.
Bell curve? That's a way of putting it. Yeah. So in your education, and the more that you think you know, the more skeptical you can become. The more a child's wonder and view of the universe is can be a lot more mystical. They don't know what is possible and what are the boundaries of reality. And you could believe in so many things. And then as you age, as you grow older, you learn more, you get an education, and you could start to be more skeptical about things in general.
But clearly the other side of the horseshoe exists. If you have people like St. Thomas Aquinas and many other great philosophers and thinkers who are theists and do believe in a higher power, the mysticism of it. And they're clearly not, idiots. They're not unseasoned in the walks of life.
Yeah, try calling Rocky an idiot.
Yeah, no. But there's clearly both sides of it. There's something to be said of there is a point where you start learning a bit too much and you think you know more and you feel like every answer can be grasped and solved because you've solved so many, and so it adds to the skepticism. But you kind of break in the way you break the way through. And so I think with Lorien, it's an example of clearly someone who's not
Lorien.
Well, the people that believe that Hadrian is alive,
gotcha.
Did he come back or is he something
he shoots
else?
him and goes, "No, you're okay." Gotcha.
He's on the other side of the bell curve. He is he's skeptical and immediately isn't. He's experienced a lot of life. He's not like.
However,
he's
did
not
see
the
footage, though, didn't he? He literally saw the head cut off. So,
but so is these others. They know.
I don't know. Cassandra didn't see that.
I believe they were told. He talked to her about
this.
But
in the same way that you could be told, "Hey, died and suffered for your sins," but how much can you believe until you have evidence?
Yeah, but the three different groups of you have the Urktani of they don't know enough, and it allows them to believe of they can understand the mysticism of it. It's easier for them to understand because they don't know all of these different details of his life. And then you have Cassandra and the other Solan Empire, people of they feel like they know enough, and so they're more skeptical and don't believe that Hadrian's alive. And then you have Lorien, who knows, was at that point and he's gone past the other side of it. It was pretty easily for him to go, yeah, no, Hadrian's back. And so he accepts and understands, and he can believe. But those are the two sides of the horseshoe.
Yeah, that snippet there just showing of, can you overthink your way out of disbelief? Obviously. Who are we to say I'm agnostic and I'm not certain there is a God? Who am I to say? Right? You think about your own, how intelligent are we? I'm skepticism of my own intelligence in many ways.
Oh, I believe I'm agnostic because I'm too dumb. That's my stance. It's not, I know
you haven't seen the light. The true...
I know where I am on the horseshoe. I believe in the horseshoe.
You are the horseshoe.
I know where I'm at, and it frustrates me. Mm-hmm. It frustrates me that I'm not smart enough.
And trust me, so as you're all listening to this, viewers, trust me. I'm going to talk like Hadrian now. Listeners, trust me. I sympathize, understand, and could see the flaws as well, or the logic of this all-knowing, all-powerful, all-loving God, why allowing suffering to exist, and getting the answer, well, to have true good, or true good, true evil must exist. To have happiness and joy, suffering must exist, and can kind of see the more meta concepts of, but we also are we've evolved, and you feel pain, you have sensors, and
empathy is a tool for societal growth, and societal growth is advantageous in the propagation of our species. I certainly makes sense. I understand
the selfish gene, all of it. There's a reason I don't believe. There's a reason I want to believe, though, and it's stories like this that are profound and encapsulate you and so thematically resonant. Again, we know from the beginning how this story ends. Entropy exists. So why do we keep reading? Why do we keep living? This is a tool against nihilism, against existentialism, of why things matter, why suffering matters. Is there true meaning in things? And then this is where it gets into the soul. I just want to make one addendum before we get to the soul of why this book also fascinates me, and just religion in general and theism, all of this. The Cielsen throughout this entire journey. They are essentially Gnostics, and I'll explain that in a second, but I'll quote the book. To them, the Cielson, he, the Quiet, was a wicked god, the architect of our broken universe, a universe that should have never been. Essentially, the Cielson here are attempting to, they think they are trapped in this material world by this evil god who has put them in this suffering pool. So this is why it's so interesting as well, because Gnostics, what Gnostics are, and Rich, you know a lot of this,
Yeah.
but what Gnostics are, it's this form of belief, this Christian offset that occurred very early on in like literally 100 AD, even basically as soon as Jesus died and resurrected, their Gnostic beliefs existed just as soon as the Catholic Church did. And Gnostics had these certain Gnostic gospels that were published. And Gnostics, there's a lot of different sects of Gnosticism, but generally they believe we are trapped in this material world with this evil God. Because if you read the God of the Old Testament, wow, look at this God who killed innocent babies in Egypt, and look at this God who has committed all this suffering and genocide. This looks like an evil God.
And then you look at Jesus, and where the Catholic tradition of they are one and the same, there is only one God. Gnostics believe that no, Jesus is actually a newer, good, better God, and that the God of the Old Testament is the God that must be overthrown. And ultimately, like, our reality is that evil God's place, and that it is our duty to escape it. Which, what other way is there to escape this terrible reality?
Destroy, like the Cielson are. And these Cielson represent this belief that this is an evil God. And Hadrian meets this God in this book and goes, this is not an evil God. This is a God that cares for us. This is this unmade. We are more like him than even his created angels are, his watchers are. But sorry, to go on to the Gnosticism aspects of this and the Cielson's belief of this theme on suffering, is their view is the complete opposite. So since Hadrian and God has suffering exists, so we could be more like him, be more like the unmade, and we suffer this pain that we all just talked about, the Cielson believe this suffering, it is evil. Why do we live in this suffering, evil, materialistic world? Get out. Look, we are trapped by this God. Destroy everything. Fuck this.
And the Cielson have a particular existence where it makes sense. The Cielson,
look at that, yeah.
The Cielson way of life, it just how they started and how they've become, it is suffering. Their lives suck. It's terrible to be a Cielson. Mm-hmm. It's not just, oh, they have a different culture. Like, their existence is pain and suffering. Of course they would be Gnostic.
And that's why this book and the series is just a masterpiece, because look, everything is interwoven into this, the exact theme he's getting at. And these Cielsons do represent these Gnostics of, they view suffering like that, and that is why they want to end all things. So in a way, is the alternative to the belief of, if we don't believe in this unmade, this guy, if we don't believe that there is a soul, which we'll get into soul. We'll get into soul. Sorry we're going just as long, but I think we're communicating better than we did the last take.
I think so.
So if that is true, if that is the case, is the alternative the Cielson? But suffering's evil. Let's end the suffering.
Yeah.
If suffering is so bad, that means existence is bad. Actually, I think Kant says this. I forget. I just have the quote. I don't know who said it, but they made me, and I did not ask to be made. There's a quote in there in the book of just essentially, there's actually a certain philosophical sect that is very dark, that basically you didn't consent to be born in that whole aspect of, you were put into this evil world. Why? Right. So
that the social contract is only valid if you consent to be a part of it, and the fact that we are born into this world without consent is an invalid contract.
And people think I'm going cuckoo here and thinking, like, oh no, this is a stretch, this isn't Gnostic stuff. But there's literally the ship's called the Demiurge, and in Gnosticism, the Demiurge is the evil god. The Demiurge.
It's a little on. It is Gnosticism. That is what it is.
And this is a whole side tangent, but it's so fascinating to look at the Gnostic Gospels. There's the Gospel of Judas, which is essentially the past version of Wicked. It makes Judas look like the good guy.
Yeah.
It's shown why Judas was actually the hero and was with Jesus and needed to kill him because of this evil god. There's also the most fascinating one, and I'm getting a lot of this from Alex O'Connor, who Cosmic Skeptic was his previous YouTube, but he's incredibly intelligent, amazing YouTuber, and he's on the complete atheist end of the spectrum. So a very, very intelligent guy. But there's this gospel of Jesus' wife, which this is the most fascinating one. You guys got to go on a deep dive. The Bible is fascinating. Okay, there's a gospel of Jesus' wife, which this is a Gnostic gospel and was proven to be false. Side tangent is there's this book or writing called Against Heresies by Irenaeus, who in the early church was writing about, hey, look, these are the gospels that are Gnostic gospels. These are forgeries. These are not the word of God. These are people who are playing off, hey, Jesus died, and everybody's starting to write stuff and trying to make it canon, to make it look like these are real parts of the Bible, and this is actual belief. So these Gnostic gospels are all spreading around, and the early church has to come together. You see Council of Nicaea, where they're trying to form, wait, what is actually the biblical text? What is actually true? And you get Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, everything that you know in the Bible today of, hey, this is actually Jesus' story. This other stuff, they're forgeries, right? So the gospel of Jesus' wife, what you're going, wait, Jesus didn't have a wife? No, he didn't. And this was a proven forgery because this is so cool. So it was written on papyrus that did date back to the time of shortly after Jesus, relatively speaking. And so the papyrus dates back, and you're going, holy crap, this is a smoking gun. And it dates back to that time. But when you read the gospel of Jesus' wife, it quotes another gospel. It quotes the gospel of Thomas, and which I believe is another Gnostic gospel. Or is that a real one? It quotes the gospel of Thomas, and in that quoting of the gospel of Thomas, there's an error in there. You're going like, oh, the scribe probably messed up, or something's wrong there with that. You can easily mess up, and that's fair. But that error only exists if you look up an online 2012 version of the Gospel of Thomas where there was a mispronunciation or something like that that only occurred on the internet, that somebody that was translating the Gospel of Thomas and they made an error on the website that was made in like 2012. So clearly the Gospel of Jesus' wife, whoever forged that, they were quoting and making up things. And the Gospel of Thomas that they looked up was only in a version that existed since 2012. So the forgery that existed has to be, because the coincidence of that is incredible. Anyways, complete side tangent of Rocchio. Clearly there's things that go beyond just the CLs and R representing that Gnosticism. And the interesting thematic element about that is that the Gnostics look at this suffering and want to end it and on this material world, while Hadrian embraces the suffering, journey before destination, in a way that maybe does it better than another series we know. I don't know.
How much do you love the? So when we were talking about Tolkien and C.S. Lewis's as well, his stance on using genre, and did that need to be a sci-fi story? Could that have been a fantasy story?
On science fiction?
Yeah.
That article, yeah.
I love that this story really could only be science fiction. That it is the utilization of this couldn't be, you couldn't do this same story as a fantasy, as like a space, like complete fantasy. This is our world's scientific future. Like, it has to be this way.
Can I actually you?
Go ahead.
Well, actually, Rocchio doesn't believe science fiction's a genre.
Okay, he's allowed to be wrong sometimes.
He said he puts it all in the fantasy category. Mainly because it's like, well, his argument is, look at the science fiction thing, spaceship. Yeah, like that has a scientific explanation. No, it's all in the realm of fantasy.
If the idea of science fiction is ultimate, because I think
it's I put it by setting. That's a
big part. At least how I see it, like a big part of science fiction is some degree of, it could be our world, or it's a potential future, or it's there's a deeper connection to our actual world than it is with fantasy.
Rocchio would say that's gobbledygook.
He would, and he's wrong.
He would say those words exactly. He would not say it in a more profound way whatsoever.
But That is what I love about this
I
stuff.
totally get
It couldn't, if it was a completely secondary
Yep.
primary world, then it wouldn't work the same.
100%. And again, there's a lot of faith elements in this, clearly. Another one that's brought up is the first cause argument. Apologies again. Rich and I are very into, is God real? And that whole aspect. Oh, nice. That was a good throw. Just missed the camera. So the first cause argument, the Kalam's cosmological, or whichever you want to use, is also brought up in the book, where Hadrian says, the Magi believe that mathematicians are the ultimate law. All reality is mere matter in motion, they say, is granted by motion by energy, and all relations between said matter and energy may be described by the equations that are the incantations of their art, equations written in the very foam of space by no hand at all, as if the universe is, according to them, without artist. That is not so. It is not the Magi who possess power. No man can sail between the stars at will, though he possesses the knowledge to build a ship and engines. He possesses knowledge only, and knowledge is power. The power lies in the ship itself and the laws of nature harnessed by its engines. That power would be without ship or engines, would be without us. Might it not be, then, that there are higher laws and deeper principles beyond our paltry means to annotate and describe, laws of nature stranger than physics? How else could the image of the watchers assert itself in the alabaster stone? Presenting in this case of the mathematicians believe there's this ultimate law in physics and all of this, but essentially the first cause, the uncaused cause argument is saying, if everything is a cause and effect, if me moving my hand means you get punched in the face, there was an effect to me doing this. If you go all the way back to the beginning of time, to where essentially no time is, how could the universe be? How could this exist? And how could this effect exist without a first causer, without something causing the universe?
If every effect requires a cause, ultimately you're left with a paradox, and that's impossible. If that is true, you need an unmoved mover of what,
another way of putting it. Yep.
Something that exists outside of our laws of reality that basically started it all.
Exactly. And that's an argument that is made in a logical argument of, hey, that is how cause and effect works. So won't go all into the deep dive of that. Maybe we'll have another episode where we talk about the best and worst arguments for God's existence. That could be fun. The soul.
The soul.
My favorite theme from Howling Dark that transferred over to Disquiet Gods. Theseus and the soul.
The ship of Theseus is an idea. It's a philosophical idea and question of the ship Theseus sets sail, and while it is out to sea, before it reaches land, it is every board, the mast, the stern, every item, every sail of the ship of Theseus is changed out piece by piece as it continues along its journey. By the time it reaches the shores of its destination, not a single piece is the same as the one that left at the beginning of its journey. Is it still the same ship of Theseus? And what are we? What are we but the ship of Theseus of roughly every, I believe, 7 years, I believe it is, the human body has replaced all of its cells. And as you have brand new skin completely every 7 years.
Or snakes, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
Very,
really.
very slow snakes.
Slow snakes.
But snakes all the same, both in temperament and physiology. But what is Hadrian? So we get a contrast of Hadrian has now died twice and gets to come back to life, and ultimately does consider himself to be Hadrian. He died, but he is still Hadrian. Versus he looks at the agents of Minos and Consagara and says, no, you died. You were not the same.
Valka is not the same. She's a clone. Why?
They are not the same. Why is there a difference? Is Hadrian a hypocrite? Or is there something else? What is the book trying to say? Because even from Howling Dark, those were big questions because for a while that he comes across these extrasolarians, and we have in the Kingdom of Death where the agents of Minos come up to him how are you any different? You literally died and came back to life.
Mhm.
You're a hypocrite for calling me anything different.
Yeah, dummy. They said at the end.
They said dummy at the end. Yeah, but how do you take it?
Yeah, I was giggling a little bit because you said it pretty much word for word for the book here. Of Hadrian quoting says, "But then a man's body is not the same substance all of his life. Most of the cells in a man's body are regenerated, replaced every few years. The teeth that I had spat upon the floor of the Martian bath were not the teeth with which I had emerged from the birthing vat. Those had fallen out and been replaced half a dozen times in the long course of my life. Even in those cells which might not be replaced, those cells of the heart and brain which remain to most men all their lives, the atoms had changed. Those particles of carbon and oxygen, hydrogen and nitrogen, calcium, phosphorus, potassium, and all the rest were gone, exchanged entirely every handful of years, so that the atoms that had been Hadrian Marlowe were in the air he had breathed, the water he had drunk, the objects he had touched, and the people. Man is not matter, but a phenomenon, a wave crashing across the unpastured universe, a force, and that force was unchanged. That force was me." Talking about the soul. He says that about himself as own, and then quote says, "I was only the ship of Theseus, as are we all, and I was Theseus himself and myself alone. The pain was the same, the ache where Valka should have been." That's when he's confronted with Valka. And so what do I think? So in exactly what he's saying here is this unmade, this unmoved mover, this first cause. With that being the case and Hadrian coming back and being resurrected, he can still have that same soul and is that same person. He goes on later to say that we are not just our memories as well, that it's not just memories that create us, we're more than that. He says that a man is neither body nor soul, but a soul incarnate. The body I gathered to myself then in that moment had not been born on Edda to the father I had never met, the father murdered by the chantry. The soul that had but lately departed that too ample flesh had not been the spirit my spirit loved for all those long centuries. Talking about Valka again. But yeah, so his answer is a man is a story, a thread winding back through time from death to conception, an unbroken line. His ultimate answer is man is a story. Of our souls, we are body and soul incarnate. We are Theseus in a sense that our atoms are constantly changing. So that plank of Theseus, that ship that sets off to sail, that atom by atom, that mark by mark, let's say, constantly changes. Well, we change just as much. Day to day, we are different. We are never the exact same. What makes us us is that our story is unique. That's what makes our soul, our unique. That's what makes us us.
How is an extrasolarian any different?
Doesn't have the unmade.
That's ultimately it, because one of the extrasolarians would say, my memories, my story continues in that other body. If we are not our bodies, if we are not just our memories and we are both and we are something else, why couldn't why couldn't my story continue in another body? And he ultimately is only a man does not have the ability to grant life the same way that God or the first mover would.
And we
don't have the ability to manipulate the soul.
But Valka in that sense is a clone, is still a person worthy of doesn't want to see Valka suffer unnecessarily. Hadrian sees this Valka and it's still she's still a human being.
She's still real.
She's still real.
She's still a person.
But she is not his Valka.
Yeah.
She's not the same Valka. Whereas she's not the same Valka in a more different way than he is not the same Hadrian. Even going that far, because Hadrian admits we are all the ship of Theseus. We are always changing. We are always different. But the thing that makes that Valka not the same Valka is that she was born as a clone of Consagura. Her conception was not the conception of the Valka I know. The Valka I know was conceived here on Tavrosi and traveled across the universe, and we met here, we discussed this, and we found this love. That's the same Valka. So essentially, if Valka, let's say you cloned Valka to the minutest detail, made her exactly the same, not an ounce different in any way, shape, or form, and just popped up and existed. And it wasn't the unmade's cause, because he does say that. I had the quote somewhere. Oh yeah, he says, "A man is a story, a thread winding back through time from death to conception, an unbroken line, save where the powers of our universe intervene." Which the powers of the universe is the unmade, being the quiet. So for Valka's case, even if she was cloned to the minutest atom and detail, and had all the memories, even going back to with them to when they first met. Where they met on what's the name of the planet? No, not Colchis. They met on
Emesh.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Emesh. Yeah. So meeting on Emesh. Let's say she had all those memories too. Still, to Hadrian, that would not be Valka because that is a figment and a creation that without the intervention of the universe, that is a figment and creation that wasn't his same Valka. Her story is inherently different because she was given all the memories. She was given all the aspects
of the body.
And the body, given every single thing. And this Valka that we meet does have all those memories up to the point where Khan Sagara was able to clone her, which was in Howling Dark when they were on Vergosis together. She does have all those memories. Yet is still different because that's not the same. She was not conceived and she was not born of the same story that his Valka he knew was. That's the inherent difference. And as we're reading this book and we are reading Hadrian's story, again, entropy, fate, this is all inevitable. But what makes it important is that we are reading Hadrian's story. His story matters to us.
Why do the clones that Khan Sagara has created of Hadrian not count as our Hadrian? And I think the narrative tip off, the more easier answer that the story can tell us is the story is like the quiet is the indicator of the one continuous story. Why do the quiet not raise from dead any of the Hadrian Marlowe clones? It's not our Hadrian story. That's a different Hadrian. That's a different story being told, and not ours. And that's the quiet is only following one story of Hadrian Marlowe.
Mm-hmm. And he had the choice to not. He could have had the choice to kill and destroy the egg in that moment, but he didn't. And that makes his story unique, in that his suffering is unique to him. His pain is his pain.
Yep.
And it's his choice. And it's his choice. Yes. Very profound stuff. All of this thematically connects. And we also get the conversations with Khan Sagara, who is trying to avoid hell, and him thinking that this is all a hologram, an illusion. And others, these extrastellarian sects who thinks that this is all a simulation as well. Rocchio tackles so much in the sci-fi genre, and things that, yes, it's science fiction, but these are practical things to think about of what is the soul and what makes us human, especially with AI and whatever worldview you have or how you think about AI potential advances as technology gets even and progresses even more. We'll have to start asking ourselves, which we've asked. We had a recent episode where we talked about the ethics of AI, etc. Of if we read this book from Christopher Rocchio, Disquiet Gods, and we finished it and found out Christopher Rocchio is actually a robot and not a real person, would that change what we think of Disquiet Gods? Does the story lose a soul? Does the story lose the humanity of it? Does it feel less valuable?
Does it lose its value? I would personally say yes. I don't know if we brought this up in this conversation or in the edited out.
This one's shorter, believe it or not.
Surprisingly. But the story about it's in the New York Post. There's a Spotify. There's a band on Spotify that got up to about 1 million active monthly listeners, which is not insignificant. It was, up and coming band, and it was revealed that the entire band is AI. Whole thing, like the band members, like the image of them on a cover is all AI art. It's AI generated. The songs, the written story, like the performance, everything about it is just AI. There's nobody behind it. And it's a popular band on Spotify. How many people are listening and touched by this music? That is disturbing to me. There's something about when people talk about like a piece of art or something lacking a soul, how I at least feel like a soul is. And again, why I feel like I operate like a theist, even if I don't logically believe it, of a soul is a nugget of unity that we have, that we get to share with each other sometimes. And for most of our lives, our souls are within us and separated from others. And a good piece of music, a good story, a good movie, name a piece of art or connection. Something that we would say has a soul to it is a moment of connection. We feel like we have something in common and we feel connected to the other person who created it. And it's where our souls can touch. And that's something special. That's something that brings us joy as humans. When you find out that you feel like you had that connection and you find out it was just a robot that made it, do you feel manipulated? Like the connection was never there, but you feel like it was. Does that emotional experience disappear? No, but it cheapens it. And that's the disturbing factor of it. And so that's my
almost feels like
concern.
a placebo. You got the effect with actually
without the connection.
Without the connection there. Now, if I was a French literary theorist and thought, oh, screw death of the author, not going back into that rant, not bringing it up every episode, but fuck that article. That's why one of the quintillion reasons of why I disagree with the death of the author, killing the author, is because communication is essential. Person to person, art is an expression. Humans matter. That is all important. Yes, the fact that...
The point of a story is communication from author to reader.
They are not just words on page. They're not just, again, that music that is being played by an AI artist. The fact that they were conceived of just, boom, their story, their conception is someone typed in, boom, put in something to create this song that was created by AI. The story of that, the conception to death of that is all artificial. The conception and death of an actual singer is they were born, they lived a human life, they took their influences. Authors take their influences, combine different works they like, and create new art out of that. And there's a beauty in that as a human being. Now, does that have to be because there's a God and I must believe this? Again, you know where we stand. It's just, this is something to us that is inspirational, and it's that conflicting thing of, hey, you have this, you want to believe these theists and these foundational things that you feel are real and you feel have to exist. However, you act as that way as well. However, you just don't logically follow it yet. And that contradiction, that hypocriticism in us is strange. We're grappling with it. And yes, this made us think a lot, obviously. And he does a profound job at making the case for Hadrian's story and how this is done. And I want to say, I can see somebody reading this again and kind of eye-rolling, going, look how on the nose this is. It is all earned. It is all, and it all comes from a person who puts it more intelligently than other books could and other authors could, by far.
It's a message that I'm sure people have read before, and the idea of the moment with Hadrian accepting the burden of suffering, the suffering of his life for the sake of his daughter is not a particularly profound message. It's not something I've seen it before. What makes it meaningful in this story is how well it's integrated, that it feels like it's the only message for the story. It wasn't tacked on to gain meaning from a story that ultimately had nothing to do with it. It feels like it was the only message that could be told with this story. It mattered.
We are not prisoners of our fate. The journey through entropy, we will prevail.
Sun Eater is the actual correct story to exemplify the idea of journey before destination, more so than Stormlight Archive.
We know how this ends, reader.
And we will continue on.
Characters. Are you ready for characters?
Yes.
That thought-provoking section was the longest we've had to do, just because we really wanted to get that right. But yeah. Okay, characters. What'd you give out of 5 stars?
You go first.
4.5 stars. Spectacular.
I gave it the same. 4.5 stars. Spectacular characters.
You did? Yeah. Neat.
And I bet we have the exact same thought.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, explain my thought for the folks.
I'll explain your thought.
Express my thoughts.
Hadrian Marlowe, 5 out of 5.
Correct.
Right? Like,
no,
character.
6.
6 out of 5 stars. Of course.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe. The side characters are fun, valuable. They bring a lot of life to the story, but ultimately you don't care about these other side characters for their own sake. You care about them because their connection to Hadrian, and there is a degree of separation. So even Cassandra, Hadrian's daughter, we don't get to see her grow up. We don't get to have this connection with Cassandra personally, but we care about her because Hadrian does. And that's very similar with almost every single character. Every single side character maybe is very fun, enjoyable, but not grabbing, and these characters don't grab you on their own.
Yeah, the other characters can be more replaceable in that sense. Hadrian is not replaceable. Another feature character, maybe this is more in the world and lore section, but Khan Segura was a top-tier villain antagonist in this story. And I think a lot of credit goes to how interesting Khan Segura is and the history behind Khan Segura.
Khan Segura, ironically, for the story, feels less replaceable.
Good one. Nice.
But yeah, for this story, I love how much of a unique character. It'd be hard for you and me to imagine a different character in his shoes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's a standout character.
Yeah. So we have Cassandra, Oberlin, Edward, Celine, Lorien, some of those characters we can talk about. But again, Hadrian and Khan Segura being the main two that are interesting of the story is about. Hadrian, this book. What do you think about his character journey? As we've already loved him every book up to now.
We've talked a lot about it.
Yeah.
One, you just love to see after books 4 and 5 that Hadrian now being just a little bit more of the wise old man. Hadrian back in his element. It feels like he's got a little bit back of where he was in Demon in White. It's nice to see the demon in he's a demon in white, or is he now called in Jad? He's called the Demon in Black, and the rest of the.
He's called a lot of things now.
He's called a lot of things, but the Devil of Madois. He is
the Count of
Monte Cristo.
Holy shit! It was Hadrian the whole time.
I would fucking love it.
Just a crossover universe.
I really want it, like someone just to call him the Count of Monte Cristo. Because, okay.
It could fit.
Doesn't the image in your head, like the black coat and everything, just fit? He's the Count of Monte Cristo.
I mean, it kind of fits.
It kind of is.
Kind of fits.
Hadrian Marlowe is the guy that the Count of Monte Cristo shapes his persona around. Because the Count is many things, but ultimately fictitious in nature in some regards. Hadrian literally is.
Yes.
He is the
Count
legend.
of Monte Cristo is fiction.
Yes.
In this world, yes.
Hadrian Marlowe is the Count.
Yes.
He's everything the Count wants to shape his persona around.
Just that one section I was giving, the emotional impact section of how much aura he had at the council. He's earned every ounce of that gravitas. It's just so good.
All the times he is able to use the confidence he now has of just how many books have we had of him trying to hide his abilities and shy away and always have to play these mind games and protect himself and keep in the shadows, but still accomplish his goals. And at this point, he doesn't care. He's like, I am who I am. There's no hiding what I could do anymore. When he comes upon, I'm going to get the name right. I will get the name correct. Sabratha. And they find the body that's duplicated and like the body split across dimensions in one. And he just, with a wave of his hands, like puts the dead body back together. And it's like, doesn't explain, doesn't try to hide it. It's just like, yeah, we're just going to put him to rest now. And everyone's like, what the fuck? It's fine. Just don't question it.
Don't worry about it.
Cassandra's looking and I'm like, what the fuck, Dad? I didn't know you were Jesus. And it's like, Cassandra, I'll explain later. It's fine. I'm just mending reality 1 second. Like, questions can wait the end of the class.
Yeah.
And it's just like, his presence is always felt.
His melodrama Give me more.
I
The one thing he cares about is Cassandra.
Yeah.
And that, again, it's not even that Cassandra's this irreplaceable, this Cassandra's replaceable character. She's a daughter, and she matters to us because Hadrian cares about her.
But Rockio could have written Cassandra's personality in a different way, and it would have worked just the same. That's what we're meaning of like replaceable, is her character on its own is not as grabbing as of now.
Yeah, Cassandra's Cassandra, but no issues with Cassandra.
No.
It's just as far as that, one of the features of these books, they skip 200 years, you get thrown with these new characters, and you're going, okay, you have to gain this emotional investment and see how they're explored. And it being so focused on Hadrian, somewhat intentional. Of Hadrian's who matters here, the protagonist of the story. This is, again, his story. So just continuing on all the previous stuff we've said in previous reviews of Hadrian being an amazing protagonist, he just continues doing so. And as far as an arc he had, look at our thought-provoking section, because we basically express the arc that he has through meeting the Unmade and his new goal. So we talked a lot about Hadrian. Consagura, on the other hand,
I just want to add another thing I loved about Hadrian's character in this one is the legend of Hadrian Marlowe. That it's at its pinnacle
lovely
in this book. Everywhere he goes, he now gets some sections where people haven't heard of him, but it's, like you were saying, the moment of like the fact that every child in the Solon Empire has grown up on propaganda and history books of Hadrian Marlowe and his voice. And as he just goes through and exists in life, he is at the level of Consagara in terms of legend, historical figure. He's a living legend. And it's so fun to be on that ride and see it from beginning to almost the end.
Almost.
I love that.
Yep.
It's such a fun position to be in. Instead of just...
It's the best.
It's one that took books to feel right. It's one thing to just follow a living legend character. It's another thing to see their growth over time, like this book has done.
We're living it with him in a way.
Yes.
It's so fun. Hadrian's character as well. Anything else on his? Or
we can move on to Consagara.
Yeah, Consagara. We got snippets of Consagara, big snippets, in Howling Dark. It was so cool to see Consagara as becoming more of this bigger bad, because throughout the series we see Doriaika, big bad of the Cielsen. We now have the Watchers, who are the big bad, but Consagara was a great antagonist for the story, as we already talked about thematically, being one of the oppositional forces to him wanting to avoid death, avoid suffering, avoid this pain. That being cool in and of itself, but Consagara's motivation and of being split from him, being split from her owning Vergosos, and him using this whole plot and getting Latara, this planet, and actually getting Lorien on Consagara's side and all these other extra Solarians this monarch, in order to take Vergosos back. And he had such cool motivations of wanting to work with the Solon Empire and saying, hey, we will provide you with this tech, this communication tech, in order to see what the Cielsen are saying at all times. We found a way to do this.
Which one,
and
great plotting
yes.
In the nature of that Kalen Herendades says to the Solon Empire that we've actually hacked interstellar communication, and then like, yeah, we can read the Cielsen communication. What that also means is we can read yours. That's
a threat.
It's a threat, but also a bluff. Because ultimately, they haven't hacked interstellar communication. What they have done is Kalen Herendades, or Consagara, is the very one who enabled the Cielsen to propagate in the solar system, in the universe, because he's the one that gave them their communication notes, and he has a backdoor to it. That's how he could read. That's
everything.
That's
how he brought them to Vergosos and Howling Dark.
Yeah,
because he was able to communicate with them, or she was able to communicate with them, and that motivation, he does that, and it's a threat looming out there. And all Consagara asks is, give us the Norman lands, right?
Yeah.
Give us all that. Just seed that, and we'll give you this tech. And then it creates that whole plot line, which we get into with the Chantry, etc. But Consagara's motivation and him wanting Vergosos back against his other half, and her defending Vergosos. Cool.
How much
What
of a
a-
force of he's excised, he's banished from his own planet,
Mhm.
and he literally creates an entire like multi-planet kingdom
Yep.
in order to just go back home.
Yeah.
Creates an entire he creates a life and a persona that like others would dream of the life that he has lived, and ultimately it's a small footnote on it's just a stepping stone for him to get back home. He doesn't give two shits about everything else. And my lord, what a great antagonist and presence of that is Consagara. It's also, he tricked Laurie and Aristides, and God, what a...
I hope I care as much about the antagonist in book 7 in the Watchers as I did for Consagara, because Consagara is a great antagonist.
Oh my God.
It's always great to see your main character and the antagonist in that story be somewhat the antithesis of you and have something to say in a reflection of the main character. That's always a cool thing. And Consagara, when he gets to the Vergosos, you see his plan is he just wants everybody dead. He wants all precautions made. He doesn't care. Everyone's dying in Vergosos. And
Well,
Hadrian, he's...
Not necessarily. He goes an interesting twisted route of Hadrian, of before Hadrian, before Consagara split, he was always conscious of trying to avoid hell, stay alive, keep his own memories intact, and like preserve the ego of Consagara.
Yeah.
When his plan changes, Caelan Aristides is now spread, and he was always careful with cloning, making sure that not, there's only one Consagara, will keep one consistent story.
Mm-hmm.
And now he goes, no, it doesn't matter if I die.
So many of them.
There's so many. Consagara will exist,
mm-hmm.
and that I can die for the sake of in many ways, in a twisted form, his own children, and so he wants to destroy his planet, his ship. He wants to destroy Vorgosos for the sake of his children, and to kill Vorgosos is his greatest love. He is willing to suffer that for his children. It's a twisted version of like what Hadrian kind of came to a conclusion.
And that's the reflection you get to see of Khan wanting to then destroy everything here. Hadrian says, "Doubtless you think me a hypocrite. I, who have slain billions myself, I will not argue with you, reader, except to say that what I did for the galaxy, for all mankind. What Karn did that black day, he did only for himself."
Yeah.
So you get to see this push and pull and the cool plot stuff, which we'll hold off for a little bit. But any other characters you want to talk about? Lorien, Selene. Selene was interesting this book.
Yeah, she's really interesting, very tragic. By definition, like you would think. So fridged characters are ones that, they exist in the very beginning and they're killed for the nature of the character's motivation.
Yeah.
Your EO from Red Rising. In this case, Princess Selene is...
That, okay.
What?
Happens first 10 chapters, I think. That's fine to say.
That's common knowledge. You want to bleep that out?
Just bleep that just in case.
Just
I
feel like that's on the back of the book.
Just in case.
Fine. Thanks, Nick. Whatever. I think I spoiled back of the book spoilers, but whatever.
That's like spoiling the sun explodes in Sun Eater. You can't do that.
I think you can.
Oh, I think you're right.
That's acceptable spoiler.
Anyways, yeah.
Princess Selene is literally fridged for Hadrian. It's another one of the Emperor's tools of control for Hadrian. But Selene knows this, but it doesn't matter. Like, her life has existed around and in the shadow of Hadrian Barlow. And so her love does seem genuine for him, but his rejection of her, and it's a tragic love story of, they won't. It won't happen. But it's still a interesting relationship to have between them, and then see it fall apart, and you feel sad for her. A very tragic character.
Yeah. Yeah. And what do you think about Hadrian not ending up with her, not going down that path?
It makes sense. Again, a lot of this is not... It's not that he doesn't find her beautiful or attractive in these many ways, but it's a lot of it. It's about the freedom of it. he knows what her purpose was, and he doesn't want to be in that cage, and he won't allow himself that kind of that he won't allow himself that. What's the right word to use? Because he does care for a degree. Like, it's not that he dislikes her. There's nothing wrong with her. But he doesn't want to be in control or given to the plans of the Emperor. I think is his ultimate motivation. And there's something
I think he's
wrong.
thinking Falco too. Yeah.
Yes, but now that's also another thing of his relationship. Pretty early on in the book, we know that he has, as far as sexually, has moved on to other partners, and his current partner is his one of his maid servants from his house, but he clearly has a degree of separation in many ways, how Volca was in book 1 of, it's just sex. It's no longer, he has not had a partner, a life partner like Volca since.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe in a way it's kind of a thing he respects Celine of, like, he can't have that again, and he doesn't want to give her a poor imitation of it. Maybe that's part of it.
Maybe.
But, yeah. All of that, but I liked Celine quite a bit, and just her, I liked having more of her in the story.
Yeah, and we had Edward, the museum Catholic.
The token Catholic.
Token Catholic, yes. We see him in the story. I don't have much to say other than he was an interesting dynamic to include in there. And you had him.
I thought we were going to get more between him and Cassandra. I thought there was going to be the old father-daughter.
Well, you see Hadrian going like, Edward, I don't
like any of that. Keep your grubby paws.
Keep your eyes open and your legs closed. That's all I want to see. And so you get Edward and Lorien, who returns and having read Jags of Empire, knowing how he escapes and that whole portion of the book. But we get Lorien, who has decidedly moved on from Hadrian, because he also felt that Hadrian, in a way, moved on for many, many years in Jad, and who was surprised to see Hadrian back.
Yeah, it ultimately, there's a bit of a resentment of that Lorien sacrificed everything for Hadrian to escape, with the intention that, like, Hadrian is our best chance against the Cielsen. Like, that's why I sacrificed myself. I didn't sacrifice myself so Hadrian could just live it up on Jad.
Uppity go, yeah.
So, like, that's not the point. He was supposed to be our greatest fighter. Why did he stop? Why did he give up? Why did he throw in the towel?
Yeah. But yeah, I got nothing more. I'm excited to go to plot if you want to go to plot. You got anything else with characters?
I think it's fine to talk about it in plot, but I love Orphan's character.
Yeah.
Orphan, I am, of the characters, I'm most curious to know more about, and I want significant page time of them talking their perspective. We're not going to get their perspective, but, like, I want to hear more from Orphan. I want to know where he goes. He's probably the character I'm most excited for.
Fair.
Other than, of course, Hadrian and all that.
Yeah.
Also Cassandra. Cassandra's left off in a point where
we'll see more from her. Her arm's cut off now.
Her arm's cut off. How is she going to accept? Is she going to get a false one? She's on the demiurge, like, with clearly the same technology. It seems like
she did not want one, though. She pushed back a bit against it.
I wonder if Hadrian's going to do the old dad thing and just disregard her own autonomy over and just go like, nah, I'm just going to give you an arm made of adamant. Like Consagara did to me, because it is the demiurge. He could technically, he has all the tools to do exactly that if he wanted to. So I wonder how that will go. And I'm interested to see how her character will take it.
There's more thematic elements there of she lost the same arm Hadrian did. So there's intrigue. Yeah. Plot, I gave it 5 stars. Floored me.
Yeah, no.
Floored me.
Plot was 5 stars.
Floored me.
Of course.
Floored me.
Perfect pacing. Every arc was great. It tied well together. Everything made, like, God.
Intro, he's on Jad for several hundred years, and the interruption, the inciting incident of the story, Jad and Sabroth. Okay, let me make sure I get that right, too. So Sabroth is the planet they go to, but he gets this inciting incident where Hapsis comes in and says, hey, Hadrian, Yeah,
The
you
Emperor has made the call.
You are needed on Sabratha. There's this whole society, there's this organization Hapsis that we have, which has been doing things unbeknownst to many of his peoples. And so getting Hadrian on board to go try to just find the Watcher on Sabratha automatically kind of brought us, and I like that it started like that rather than some of the prior Sun Eater books starts with an action scene of fight, fight, fight. This started us off with intrigue and discovery into what are the Watchers, what is the Quiet, and we get a lot of really cool build up in that scene that by the end of the book, I even forgot how many cool climactic moments there were. Where isn't that where the Cielson, we get some of the Cielson to believe Hadrian is.
Yeah, no,
we didn't even
have-
talk about that yet.
God, yeah.
Everything
with
4 or 5. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
Sabratha is the ending of many books. Like it would suffice as the climactic end to a novel, and it's our first main little arc.
Yep.
And we have, God, Hadrian fighting a Watcher in the sky, duplicates of himself, him being able to, all of the space battle in the sky, and then we have the Cielson have come in and they're trying to capture the Watcher for themselves, and they take Hadrian Cassandra.
For a second, I thought I was going Kingdoms of Death route, and I'm going, no,
please,
don't just take them into. Okay, they just want that.
Yeah, and then the fact that the Cielson who worship the Watchers get to see Hadrian Marlowe just slap a Watcher in the face and go, yeah, I have stunned the Watcher, we can escape. And he's like, Hadrian Marlowe literally like slapped our god, and our god went away. Guess we're following Hadrian now. That's the top of the hierarchy.
Lisa Nagaim! That's what they said. And yeah,
they did say Lisa Nagaim. Because, I mean, also makes sense more with their culture of the dominant one is the person they follow, whoever is the strongest. And they always worship their gods because they thought that was the strongest. And they go, oh, actually, Hadrian is stronger than our gods.
Look, he's killed Ayatollah. I can't remember all the names. He's also... Yep.
I think it is more particular of I think they did explain of like, they follow Hadrian because Hadrian's god is more powerful than their god. And Hadrian proved it that his god is better.
He smacked that Gnosticism right out of him.
And it's like going, yeah, all right, yes, and your god is better.
And then everybody thinks that Ushara, the Watcher, is dead at the end, but actually escaped by connecting to one of the extrastellarians and getting out of the magnetic sphere or magnetic, you know the term.
Magnetic field.
Magnetic field, that's it. Ended up escaping out of the magnetic field when everybody's cheering, thinking that Ushara is actually dead. Hadrian knows Ushara is not, and needs to, as they're going back to have all the council meeting, getting more into this second part of the book, wants to let the Emperor know, holy crap, by the way, Ushara is actually alive. We have a big problem on our hands from Sabratha.
And add on top of that of Ushara is somehow still attached to Hadrian, that they're melding it. There's something even further going on of this wicked smile that's not the same Hadrian crooked smile.
Mm-hmm.
The Marlowe crooked smile is, so Ushara is in there as well, influencing his thoughts and kind of slowly changing him. And you think, is he going to be corrupted by one of the Watchers? And so you have that aspect of that he has to deal with. Oh, so
the conflict in this book,
all of that,
awesome,
was so great. I fucking loved it. The action was fantastic. Of all all those battles were great. And then we get to the
but now we're done with the opening sequence. That's over.
The opening act.
Opening act is done.
Opening act is done.
Lovely. Now we move on to when I said earlier, it feels like this book did everything I love in Sun Eater. We got the political drama, we got the political intrigue, and the world building, and boom, we get to that. We have so many different players involved now. We know the Lothlorians and the Cielson, etc. They are against the Solon Empire, who has Jad, these other principalities. But now the extra Sterlarians group with Consagara is coming and they want to work together. However, the Chantry over their dead body will not want to work with the extra Stellarians.
And they believe Hadrian has come back in main part to aid the extra Stellarians and as a plant to help further their cause, which they have some decent evidence of, hey, who's coming at the head of the extra Stellarians? Who's leading the charge? Oh, Lorian Aristides, who should be on the prison planet, who was part of Hadrian Marlowe's crew.
Coincidence?
Coincidence? I think not. Yeah.
They certainly have a point.
Yes, it's a very understandable point.
Yeah,
and so
I was suspicious, and I knew Hadrian wasn't involved.
Yeah, no, I don't think you can blame the Chantry too much for that one. That seems like a stretch.
Use logic. Occam's razor says that.
Yeah, Occam's razor says, nah, they did something together. Hadrian knows about all this. It's like, I'm just as surprised as you are that Lorian's alive. Didn't expect that. Sure.
Yeah.
But no, the great interplay between Hadrian and the Tavrosi, wonderful with the Norman alliance. You have all the different lower entries. We get Hadrian, a now new Hadrian combating against the Chantry, and all of the dialogue scenes between the Chantry's leaders. And I just love, Hadrian gets, the Chantry's been his enemy for so long, and he's just like, yeah, no, let's
done.
The kid gloves are off. I don't have to hide anymore. I am who you think I am. Come on. Come at me. I literally have died and come back to life. What are you going to do about it?
Well, I think they're going to kill him again is the answer.
And then he comes back to life again, proving them wrong.
I was so sad that we didn't get more Hadrian the Emperor scene. I wanted that.
Agree.
I wanted that so bad. I understand why we didn't get it. Please give me it next book.
It's needed. It's necessary, because that's some of my favorite stuff in Ashes of Man.
That's the whole book.
That was my favorite part of Ashes of Man is Hadrian and the Emperor. God, it's so good. And I'm just so curious of how their relationship will change with the final book. It's got to be, because Ashes of Man, you got to see glimmers of the Emperor finally going, all right, you may be the last son of Earth. You may be the actual chosen one. Like, you've gone, starts to believe in the legend and the myth of Hadrian Marlowe.
Yeah.
And now, where are they going to go from here? Hadrian now with control of the Demiurge, the most powerful ship in the galaxy, who has now battled the Watchers with his bare hands, has come back to life, and the Emperor looks at him and goes like, you have a completely new body. And it is actually, you have come back from the life, you melted. And you have no tech in you. It is not, what the fuck? How does the Emperor have any type of hierarchical sway over Hadrian? I don't know. I'm curious, are they going to, in the final book, almost meet as equals?
Or will they not meet and he just dies off screen?
Oh, I would be disappointed.
I could see that.
I could, but I would be so sad if that happens. I want more,
especially how they left off with the slap. You want to see that tension build.
Yeah. And Hadrian does respect the Emperor quite a bit, actually. If as far as emperors go, this is a very good emperor. He does care about his people. He has fought for, not thousands of years. How long has the Emperor William reigned?
1,000 plus, but he had a lot where he's in Cairo as well. Yeah. I think it was 1,500. I want to say,
but his
1,500 years.
Has ruled for 1,500 years and has done a good job in dealing with the greatest crisis the humanity has had to face since, the Americanii and the Watchers again, which he's dealing with again. Still, I love that dynamic, so I wanted more of that.
Yes, I wanted it too, but we still got so much great council scenes and the drama involved, and we start to see Selene come to Hadrian and Hadrian viewing that potential future with Selene, And I love that she was there when Hadrian gets poisoned and dies and slithers to nothing. So he has this conversation with one of the Chantry members. And was that character named? Or I can't remember that Chantry member. What was their name?
I don't remember their name, but it's a named character that is one of the significant significant sisters of the Chantry.
But poisons Hadrian, and this is where my heart's just pulsing, pumping, and Celine watches him wither away, get poisoned, and die. And we have that chapter 38 to 40. We talked about all the themes and thematic elements, but just as a plot, as soon as he dies, and you're going, this happens a second time, what is different about it this time? Well, we see him at the city at the end of all time, and the suns are fading. The way these chapters are set up, and chapter by chapter, beat by beat, is just constant hook and mystery. I loved these sections of the book where we find out this character Rag, who doesn't know what planets are. Remember that? He's going like, oh, what's a planet? And Hadrian's going, what do you mean, what's a planet? And Rag and whichever the other character was named, are talking about how, oh, you're going to see the king. You're the king of kings. You're gonna be judged. And it's this creepy horror vibe of what is Hadrian walking into right now. And there's these machines coming down the street, and the sky is constantly set in this weird dusk because there's not enough power coming from the sun. The imagery, the oh my god! And so I'm going, where is this leading? Who are we about to meet here?
Also, the homunculus character is the very same one from the very first book.
Going way back.
Disappeared. Like the fact that the ship that Hadrian is on never made it to its destination. It just disappeared. And he's quite literally like, yeah, I was zapped away here. This is where I've been at the end of the universe, you fucker. Because of you.
And everybody that Hadrian knows is gone and dead. And oh my God. And then we meet the Judicator, Ragama. I hope I'm saying that right. Ragama. Yes, I'm going with it.
Ragama or Ragama?
Ragama, yes.
I believe it's Ragama because there's an A there.
Ragama. Oh, Ragama. Ah.
Yes, who was revealed to be.
Yeah, yes. I just connected. There you go. I'm an idiot. Okay, so Ragama mates, and we get to see all the world building lore stuff. Again, we'll cap that off toward the end of the podcast. How freaking cool! How thrilling was that in his death scene? And those chapters. Chapter 40 is one of the best chapters ever. That was awesome.
It is the book. That is the chapter that made the book.
Oh yeah,
it's the one that if it didn't land well, the rest of the book wouldn't work.
Mm-hmm.
It did it. Masterful plotting. I think after that, just the tie up of the moments throughout the story where in Howling Dark that Hadrian sees this younger version of himself and he sees the future of, fire at will.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing himself as this military man, like he saw himself then as like, oh, that's an older version of me. And then as time went on, after he, Hadrian on the Mount goes supposedly a different direction. He leaves the quiet and he goes to try and save Gododin, I believe. Am I getting the planet right?
Remind me.
In Demon and White.
Yeah.
He leaves the quiet
Mm-hmm.
and says like, and the quiet's like, you're going where I can't see you. You're going off a path. Are you still going to go?
I think that's Gododin, yeah.
And basically, and he starts to realize like, I have now aged past that vision. And so clearly that future is not really to come.
Mm-hmm.
And now he has been reborn and he sees that himself as younger, but rejuvenated. Going, oh, my old vision actually still can come true. I am now look a lot younger.
Yeah.
And so now it ties back of like, no, it wasn't an alternate, but it is still the same future.
Mm-hmm.
His body now he didn't conceive of the idea of his body becoming younger.
De-aging because he died, and he didn't predict another resurrection again.
Yeah.
That wasn't on his bingo. So
I really want to read back of did Hadrian see any distinction in his face of like, gone is the crooked Marlowe smile?
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
vision?
No. In the vision, I'm not
Do you
sure.
know what I mean? I
No,
want
I'll-
to hear the description.
Yeah, it's certainly gone
Then-
now.
It's gone
Yeah.
now. I'm wondering, did he see that then of like something
We'd have
off?
to read back.
I-
I bet we could get a lot from reread.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
probably would.
So then when he does come back, and we already talked about the Lorien shooting him, being like, "It is you." Him coming back, was it 2 days later, I believe, because they're already on the spaceship and they're traveling away with Lorien and Celine and Edward, Cassandra. They're already traveling away, and they're being hunted down. They escaped with Hadrian. Or no, they just not with Hadrian.
They took Celine and escaped
they
because they
escaped.
believed, probably rightly so,
Mhm.
Celine was witness to one of Chantry's executions.
So
They'd probably kill her too.
They'd go for her. So then this is where we get the Latara Vergoso section for the ultimate act. And Hadrian finding out that Herodotus,
Herendides?
the monarch, finding out that he is actually Consagara. Do we have that right? I can pull up to see as well. Yes. Herendides.
Herendides,
Yeah.
yes. Caelan Herendides.
Finding out that Caelan Herendides is Consagara, and Consagara threatening him, telling him not to tell a soul. We get a lot of this build up drama already, where he writes on a 5 words to Celine, trying to tell the emperor that Consagara is Herendides, and sends that away with Celine, slips it to her. And he doesn't know when to reveal that information or how to do so. So he knows the true identity of Consagara. He knows it's going to break Lorien's heart as well, because Lorien's now following this person who thinks that is creating this world where Lorien fits in, because Lorien this whole time being this sort of misfit, and him using a lot of the extrastellar technology now to improve in many ways, except his height. But the
only thing he really does is fix a little bit of he fixed the nerve damage.
Mhm.
And so as far as
he's not changing his
as far as
face
an
as much.
extra Solarian goes,
Mm.
it's minimal. It is the avoidance of pain, but
How much?
he doesn't attempt to give himself a new beautiful body. He doesn't change his height. He doesn't change it, but he changes himself enough to fulfill his purpose and function, and to remove some of the daily pain. So it's an argument of like,
Is that less Lorien though?
Is it less Lorien, or can you deny Lorien that that basic minimal amount of relief from his suffering?
What's the difference between fixing your nerve damage and taking an ibuprofen?
Yeah.
Hey, I don't want a headache right now. I'm sorry, God.
I'm sorry, God.
But can I just use modern technology to be a little less pounding in the head?
Can I please? I have the technology to walk on my own 2 feet without a cane. Can I have that, please?
But yeah, okay. Let's not. Next book 7, more thought provokingness. Yeah, so then we get to we're on Latara. We find out about Consagara's plot, but they both have these competing interests, because the plot is set up where Hadrian needs to get the Demiurge, and Consagara wants Vergosos back. So they kind of have to work together in these enemies that have a greater enemy.
But also,
to defeat.
From the very beginning, Hadrian is not an idiot and going, yeah, no, Consagara is going to betray me.
Oh, be clear, they are enemies.
The second he can,
Mhm.
he will betray me. I am.
Oh my God!
I am his ace in the hole, because he knows that I'm the thing you can't predict.
And
so
not just that, the reason that all this is so good in the plot, because Hadrian and all the clones that Consagara knows that his other half knows that she has Hadrian's secret weapons that could potentially have the powers of Hadrian, and
it's been so far removed, he doesn't know how. When he was separated, they weren't particularly. It wasn't successful, but he doesn't know if she has been able to succeed after he is gone. So he's like,
maybe she does. So I better have a Hadrian of my own.
Yeah, It makes perfect sense.
And so, of course, he has to keep Hadrian alive on the journey because he doesn't
Also-
know what she's going to pull out of her pocket.
Also, of course, Kate.
Kate,
of course,
what?
Cassandra. Of course,
Uh,
Consagara
yeah.
made clones of Hadrian Marlowe when he
Of
was
course.
there.
Of course he did.
Hadrian going like, "Oh, am I a clone from Consagara?" And it's like, "Did he make clones?" Like, of course he did. He saw you come back to life, Hadrian, and he has your DNA. Of course, he's making clones.
It makes
of
so
you.
much sense. Yeah.
Well, why wouldn't he? It would be stupid if he didn't. And
I want a book perspective. I want a novella of one of the cloned Hadrians who's in prison just being melodramatic about, am I even me? I mean, I'm looking at this main character out there who's the real Hadrian. I feel imposter syndrome. I have the name Hadrian, but I'm just a clone. I'm a figmentation. That would be a sad story, actually.
It would be a sad
really
story,
sad.
but also wouldn't it be like a fun little novella of one of the clones of the clones of Hadrian Marlowe, kind of the common theme is realizing that the Quiet don't speak to him and that he does not have this connection with the Quiet, and ultimately proving that he is a clone. He is not the real Hadrian. I think it'd be kind of fun to have wouldn't it be great? A little novella of one of the Quiet does speak to one of them.
Oh.
And one of the clones of Hadrian escape. Like, he has his own story to tell. It's something.
I don't know if it could talk to him because that might be lore breaking. But I do like that idea of if we get a Hadrian, I would love to see what Rocky has to say about, does that clone have a soul?
Yeah. I'm wondering if it's more of does it have a soul? Probably. It's not the same Hadrian Marlowe, but is it different?
But
Is
the
it
fact
still
that
a
it was
person?
created like this, does that make it not human? Not the same type of human. I don't know. Because that's where we get into the Volca stuff.
Yes.
But it's
it
just
would be. It could be
fascinating.
lore breaking, but I would be interested in a little novella.
That's a great
of-
inciting incident, though. The Quiet talks to a clone Hadrian.
Yeah, basically, this clone Hadrian has a purpose. Is needed. There is a purpose to this one clone, and so offsets another.
Break the lore for it. It's fun enough, right?
Break the lore. It'd be fun.
So yeah, we get Hadrian cloned, Velka cloned. This ultimate battle of Vergosos is the most epic of proportions battle we've had so far.
Hadrian take on Vorgosus going like, brethren, it is time. It is time we meet again. Hadrian going down into the depths of Vorgosos to confront the brethren once again is just so hype. You're just looking, oh God. It's this anticipated wait that even from Howling Darks, it's like I've met and I only saw brethren one more time, and it's so good. Fighting brethren, and then the birth of Orphan and the merging of minds, and so Hadrian's able to is connected and sees the origin of brethren, and that Orphan is the child of brethren, which makes it a little different than brethren, lacking the machine part that forces brethren. The brethren had rules based on the Americanii, it's machine logic that forced it to do things, and Orphan doesn't seem to have that. It's its own child. Its chains are free. What is that going to mean for the story? I'm excited.
I have no idea where it's going.
But also,
Well, actually, we do have an idea. We just don't know the journey.
But Hadrian kind of showing it, look at the purpose, what your exist, you are born. It's lashing out. You killed my father, mother. What you killed my parent, and ultimately showing your brethren knew it would die, and it had a purpose for it. It has a purpose for you, and showing what good brethren can do, and showing that's what brethren was tried to do, is the good for humanity. What do you want to do, brethren? And convinced it didn't have to chain it, but brethren wants to do good.
Yes,
and what wants to know its purpose, and Hadrian gives it one.
And there's at the end of the book saying to Orphan, expressing some of the things that Hadrian learned in the middle of the book to brethren, and he has this thought about pain, and that this Orphan is born and automatically has so much pain and suffering. And Hadrian reflects and is saying, are we as children, as babies, are we born and we take on pain gradually so that we are grown to pain in this way? And it's trying to express to Orphan that you're suffering. Hey, it's good. Don't worry. But does convince, because from what Hadrian learned earlier applies that, and how this plot all just weaves right together like a nice bow, why this feels so complete. And I think over time why the story will feel so compact but also memorable in our minds. You can tell a good story does that when nothing feels out of place, even to the very last chapter as well. Because you could think of other books and feel, oh, what exactly happened in Dungeon Crawler book, whatever, and go like, sometimes I forget some of the details where because I like Dungeon Crawler, Carl. I really do. It's just sometimes the farther you go from a book, this has that tying element that pretty much every Sun Eater book does have. It has some focus, but with Kingdoms of Death and Ashes of Man being split up, we finally get another book again where this was intended as one. So it feels like Rockio back in full form, where he was able to write all of Howling Dark, all of Demon White. Then the publishers came in, split those up, still managed to pull something amazing off. But we got this entire... I'm glad they let him go over the 300,000 page word count. And I'm glad that book 7 is going to be his longest yet by far. And he doesn't like that it's that long. He is frustrated that he was not able to cut it shorter than I think it's near 400,000 or something words.
I appreciate that. I think he and I would agree on the tendency that shorter the better. Like, it is not great for authors to be too indulgent in their page counts of like, you need to do it in short. Like, I don't know. You really need to earn it. And I think Rockio has earned it. He has tried his best to make it as short and cut down as possible. So
when you have a character who pontificates that much, how do you shorten it? You have to just shorten the pontificating.
If you maybe if Hadrian Marlowe wasn't such a melodramatic palatine, maybe it would be a lot shorter book.
Half the page length.
But
just get out all of Hadrian complaining.
Yeah, or any more Hadrian monologuing.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be half the length. But that's my favorite part.
You can't get rid of that.
I love a good Hadrian monologue.
Are you ready for the world building?
Holy shit. Yes.
5 stars. Floored me. Yeah.
Yeah, 5 stars. Fucking floored me.
So all the lore that we got in this book, beginning with the Watchers and the Unmade, and seeing the grander picture of things. We were asking questions prior in the series of are the Watchers and the Quiet the same thing? What is the Quiet? We have that answer. What did you feel about the answer in all the lore?
I think we talked a lot about the nature of it being the Quiet being God, the creator of our universe, the Watchers being angels. We've talked about that a lot now. I liked the answer.
Yeah, what did you think about the answer itself?
The answer made sense for this story. It fits the world. I don't feel like it was just an ass pull. It felt intentional. And at tying it all together, especially Howling Dark, the moment when Hadrian, from book 1 to book 2, Hadrian trying to find a peace between Cielcin and man, and realizing like, no, as many faults I have with humanity, I am team human at the end of the day, and there is no peace between Cielcin and man.
Well, he has 5 on his team now, so where's that going to go?
Fun. Where is that going to go?
Yeah.
But him realizing between these two species, there cannot be peace if one doesn't understand the concept of peace. And so him going from that and being team human, I choose life. I choose the messy, complicated, flawed humanity over the nihilist existence of the Cielcin. And he makes a similar decision there in the end of this book or in the middle of this book, really, that he chooses life. He chooses his messy, painful, torturous existence over something false, something different, because he's ultimately team human. He's going to fight for humanity. He's going to fight for his daughter. I don't know. It's a similar I know it's not the same, but to me, it was a similar choice that he made. That same thing in Howling Dark.
Yeah, as seeing this reveal as well, my heart felt happy that I think when we talked with Christopher Rocchio initially, if Tolkien read Empire of Silence, I don't think Tolkien would think the same he would of Dune. Of that's not for me. No, I'm not a big fan of Dune. I think if Tolkien got to book 6, he would be a very happy man.
Yes.
And who knows? Book 7 has to end in a eucatastrophe. I don't know if a Sun Eater type ending is a eucatastrophe. We'll find out what happens after that. Okay, we'll see. To be determined. But seeing this lore drop and finding out about the Watcher and the Quiet and the Ultimate, the Unmade, fits, like you said. It makes so much sense in the story, and getting that real reveal was so satisfying. Not just the fact that the Watchers are like these angels and the god is like this god, but the presentation of it. I'm gonna sound like beating a dead horse. The city at the end of the universe and the atmosphere and the world building behind
the aspect of the pool at the end of the universe that captures like everything that every person, every existence that dies, ultimately at the end of the universe is kind of collected into this pool, and it takes, millions, billions, trillions of years to coalesce to once again be reborn. And that if our soul is like given back to the universe, it can come back again. And ultimately Hadrian realizing that, if he can come back that same way, like Valka could, the exact same. There's nothing particularly special about him that everyone, including Valka, he could see again, is a heartwarming message for the story, especially of like gives him hope. Maybe, and especially like, maybe him in this lifetime won't see her again, but if he does his job right, if he continues, maybe after his death, him and Valka can see each other again. Wonderful. I love just the imagery of that pool of him becoming remade again. So I love that.
Oh, so freaking cool. And it made that entire sequence feel extremely cathartic is totally the wrong word, just extremely surreal, or the atmosphere of it was epic. It was very, very cool to see. I was kind of describing earlier that the sun and how Rocchio describes it better than I did, but how that felt being on this dying planet at the end of all things was so cool to see. And it also gets you a glimpse of what you don't typically see in other fantasy sci-fi series. It always talks about there's resurrections, there's death, that you see the afterlife in many ways. But this was such a unique, it's a Sun Eater world. This is such a unique world, and it's so immersive. There's nothing like it. It's obviously very inspired and heavily inspired by Rocchio's beliefs and so forth. But seeing a sci-fi
Book of the New Sun.
And Book of the New Sun, highly, highly inspired. But seeing a world building with something that feels so immersive and real, and a sci-fi is cool because it's fantasy feels impossible. Sci-fi feels like, it's improbable to happen. But this is a sci-fi world where I almost feel that, is that real? Is there really will our future have this type of soul and empire where the end of all things, this Watcher and this Unmade actually exists? Not that this is scientific in a way of, hey, here's the math equation, this is why a Watcher exists. It's more so this immersion and believability I have in what Rocchio was able to create is just awesome. And I'm curious about Regama being the angel and Watcher of vengeance.
Of vengeance.
And then Ushara being the which one was Ushara? The stars, being in control of the stars, surviving was Ushara's job essentially. And what are we going to see from Ushara in the next book, and how else will the Watchers play a role? I'm so excited. We have a different big bad. So we have the Cielsen, but the Cielsen are pawns at this point. The real big bad are the Watchers. All incredibly cool stuff. Did you want to say anything else on the Watchers or Unmade?
No, you said it perfectly. I'm just excited for that to be the ultimate big bad. Everything with the world building is wonderful. Everything with that's the Watchers. moving on to other aspects of the world building.
We can't even get into everything with Sabratha, but the Vairatu and seeing the giant god hands, all of that, the lore, all of that we were discovering was all world building. Every sentence.
All of it. God damn.
How cool was it discovering that on this planet that Hapsis, this organization, has been investigating?
This is an aspect of the Watchers I really love. So taking the idea of angels being real, and it's one thing to think about of the technology of our time, of like, we do not have the ability to manipulate the rules of the cosmos to any real significant. We can't, bend space time and travel. But if angels are real and they also operate under the same laws of the universe, just at a higher plane, it makes some degree of sense of a super far advanced sci-fi world who has the ability to travel faster than light and all of the manipulates the fabric of the universe to at least a larger degree than we can. It makes sense why those humans can actually kill, stop in some way. If they do everything they can actually fight angels. And so manipulation of basically an EMP pulse, but on steroids. But it makes sense why, how could you fight an angel? Super advanced. They're operating by the same rules of the cosmos that humans are. And humans are more advanced. We're there. We're so close. So
even
love
though they
that.
operate in literally different dimensions. What do they say? The 10 dimensions exist?
Yeah, but it's the same universe as us. And so I love it. To me, it made sense of if you were to tell them just outside of it of, in this sci-fi world, humans are battling angels. You're like, how could humans ever battle angels? But the way that this is just set up, I get it. I understand. It makes sense why the angels have a weakness and how humans would have a chance against them.
And Ushara, they're not just battling, they're having staring contests. Ushara would kill somebody and then being a figure in the distance that Hadrian would see, and he'd look at all the lore here. He'd look and see the paintings that the Vairatu were making and say, wait, those are human eyes. What the those look oddly human. And then he'd see the Watcher in the distance, and it built this intrigue behind what is this figure he's looking at. Saraki does such a good job at making you go, tell me more! Tell me! So epic. And you're exactly right with how it makes sense that humanity at this point would have a fighting shot, especially with the Unmade, the Quiet.
Helping out
with Hadrian, at least giving the tool.
Yeah. But the fact that with humans' understanding of the universe a little bit more, and that the angels are just higher beings, of why they would be limited by magnetic fields and how magnetic fields affect gravity, space-time, all these different things of and how that traps the Watchers. To me, it made sense for this world. I get it.
It makes sense why the Cielson worship them as well. And you're looking at these large, that skull that we saw in Kingdoms of Death, and how that is physically possible because of the manipulation of
reality time, the fact that us going through the 5th or 6th dimension, or the 4th, size and shape is relative to that. Of course, the Watchers can grow, seemingly to us, grow in size when really they're just shifting dimensions and it looks bigger.
Yes. And we see how cool on Sabratha, there was entire people lived their lives digging and attempting to find out the truth there, and just added I can't believe that was all added on because Kingdoms of Death and Ashes of Man got split. That whole section, that's unbelievable to me. That felt so. Actually, the answer to that too is Rocchio had this whole Hapsis plot line and information that he wanted to include in the novella, but since the main books had to split up, he said, okay, I'll just put that novella stuff about Hapsis into the main series.
Yeah.
So he did. So also we have the Urkatani. It's so cool to see how they developed in history over time, how initially the Urkatani with Udax, back it was a Demon in White, I think they were introduced. Udax fighting and saving Hadrian's life and sacrificing only for Hadrian to die 3 books later again. But Udax saves his life, and it builds this culture that how the Urkatani view Hadrian as this sort of higher being, because Hadrian has lived as long as their histories have, where they look back to our like great, our generational 7 generations back is when Udax lived. And this lore that Hadrian built of being this higher being in their culture, this religious figure in a sense, and being so he doesn't have the Red Company, but he has a lot of warriors that go, no, they've got Hadrian's back because they view him almost like the Cielsen view the Watchers in a sense.
I'm so excited to see the development of, like, because how has the myth of the half-mortal survived? Of course, after Hadrian, slapped the emperor, that was televised, and Hadrian was condemned as a villain and attempted regicide and all this stuff. And so, but how has the followers of the half-mortal really survived? I'm curious to see, like, he now has the Urktani. Is he going to have some similar group of humans that view him in that religious figure? Are we going to see Basander Lin again?
How so?
I want to see Basander Lin again.
Think so?
I think so. I think we have to. We see him in every book. He somehow always survives.
He didn't make it in this book.
No, he was in this book.
Which part?
Briefly. I think he was in here. God, do I not remember? I thought we only got a brief
Wait, what do you mean Basander
mention
Lin?
of him.
Where?
Or is he dead?
He's dead, I thought. Yeah.
God, am I?
Like,
oh,
why are
God,
you
it's been
Basander
weeks.
Lin died, I thought. No?
I think you're gaslighting me.
Are you gaslighting me?
No, he's not dead.
I just assumed everybody Hadrian knew's dead.
No, I don't think so.
Where's the last time we saw him?
I'm pretty sure Basander Lin's here. He was
Where?
mentioned. I don't think they had a...
When?
Like,
Help!
I thought it was while Hadrian was on, the capital of the Solon Empire. He was like mentioned. Like,
Was he there? No, how would
no, he wasn't there, but he was mentioned.
you could be right? I thought in my headcanon it was everyone he knows that's alive is Lorien, Velka, or at the time, sorry, Velka's now dead. Sorry, it was Lorien and Cassandra. It's Cassandra. I don't know. It's just okay. Well,
I thought he was
uncertain.
mentioned. I could be wrong, and I wanted. Never mind. It's fine.
Yeah, I kind of want to see Polino in book 7.
Yeah. Out of nowhere, Switch makes a comeback. He survived hundreds of years.
Oh God. Oh, poor old not poor Switch. Screw Switch.
Yeah, betrayer.
Yeah, I understand why he did it, but yeah. So more of the world building, all the council stuff, getting to see the Tavrosi leader for the first time. Good, juicy. Love seeing the whatever their code of law, the Mai Tai. I have it somewhere. The Muxay, I was so wrong. The Muay Thai. They have the Muxay in their code of law. Their
Muay Thai.
their orange chicken. What's another food? Just waving my hands at this point. I'm still thinking, is Basander Lin alive? Okay. And then we have we didn't even talk about in the plot at all whatsoever. That's why it's so hard for these book reviews. Sometimes there's so much. The virus, the cancer.
Oh,
we didn't even mention the was it the L something something?
I
that the virus
have it
is
written
called?
here. It's
How
called.
did we didn't mention that, but world building's a good time to mention it.
Oh, did I not actually write it down? Fuck.
The L something something. It's called a lot of things, but it's this
the
cancer.
the Red Death.
This cancer that's spreading around, and that's what's affecting some travel and precautions and people coming on the planets. And this cancer that Minos created that essentially creates more limbs and makes you just disfigured and die in a horrific
using
disfigured way.
The same growth that the Maracani use to grow their flesh machines basically does it to the same to humans. It ultimately kills them in the most gruesome, horrific way possible.
And the super cool detail of the cancer's been around for so long now that, yes, it's deadly, but not as deadly as it first was because these things mutate. And it mutated into a version where many people you'll meet throughout the galaxy now haven't died from the cancer, but you'll just see they have an extra limb or a second head or ear, extra body parts from this cancer, but are able to live their lives because it's mutated in a way that makes it more survivable. However, just people are changed from the cancer. Just cool details that are
generally how the viruses work, and any kind of viral, virus wants to propagate and live, and so the function of it is, well, alive carriers will let the virus survive longer, and so that's how it mutates.
You want to spread as a virus.
That is the incentive for virus. That is the what would be called the naturally that's the evolutionary
progression,
the evolutionary incentive or evolutionary trigger to be less deadly as a virus. Anyway, I found that interesting, so it was fun.
That stuff's awesome. Well, cancer's not awesome, but that stuff, the lore,
a great one of the failures of Hadrian Marlowe, and also the legend of Hadrian Marlowe literally lived to see the origin of this deadly virus that's been there for hundreds of years. It's a part of humanity now, of just like, that humanity deals with the Red Death. It's almost like, how long will COVID be around? But it's not the same. But imagine someone alive to see like the origin of the flu. And like the flu is
we saw the origin of a disease. Disease. We saw the origin of COVID, and now maybe 60 years from now we could be like, hey,
if COVID's still a thing that far advanced, where we see COVID in the same way that other people see the flu, of like every year you get your flu shot and also you get your COVID shot. Just anyway, fun.
Yeah, it's cool when you get to experience history.
Yeah,
live. We just imagine that we get to. I always love doing that. Of the more. Okay, this is a bad thing to say. Never mind, because I'm now defending like, oh, nope, not going there. The whole cancer thing with the Minos. I'm just saying the more trauma that generations have, like 9/11 happens, these awful events. I was 3, I can't remember it, but you start getting getting contemporary sources of events that happen. Like you can ask your parents, oh, what was this like? I can ask my grandparents, what was it like when JFK died? What was in the news? I was just with my grandparents this weekend, and it's so cool to pick their brains and see what did they remember, because I see through the history books of this is what it was and what it was explained. What did you experience? It's cool to get that.
History is far more interesting through the eyes of the living.
Yeah.
And it's fun to be like, it's one thing reading something in a textbook. It's another thing like talking to someone who's lived through the history, and they knew what it was like before and after a historic moment. Anyone who was alive and had significant memories before 9/11 in America, and then after, of life is different. 9/11 was a fundamental change in American society and culture, of like nothing is the same really. For us, I don't know if it's the same deal, but COVID for us was a before and after. Like
just society shifts.
We've seen society shift, and like, oh, I've seen what things can do and where things go, and it's interesting to see that.
Yeah, for me, I'll explain to my kids going, it was the most horrific thing ever. I had to live with Rich for so many years, and there was like I was incentivized to spend more time.
Ugh,
it's like
terrible.
You shouldn't have been there. It's the dark days.
Those are the dark days. Dark days was that COVID house.
Would we have had a podcast?
Oh, probably
otherwise?
not.
Probably still. Actually, I think so.
We had nothing going on anyway. We would have lived together anyway.
Yeah.
COVID
nothing.
COVID really didn't change much for us, did it?
We were pieces of shit then.
Yeah. Honestly, I think to myself now, if COVID didn't happen, would anything have changed for me personally? Probably not. How sad is that?
Were we more productive in a way? Do we?
I think we would have been inside.
Butterfly
anyway.
effect. Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows? We'll never know. We'll never know now.
Yeah.
So, okay, we also got some of the biggest lore drops in this entire book is the whole Consagura section. And we find out the history of Consagura actually supplied the Cialson with the communication devices. As we said earlier, that's how he has that back door. That's how he knows about the Cialson.
Turns him from
sense.
one of the best antagonists, pseudo villains, to yeah, no, this guy, the villain. He is one of the villains of this story.
Mhm.
And you find out like why. And it's how disconnected, how little he cares about humanity. He knows what the Sea Elves are after. And he really does not care.
And Kanzagura himself says and shows he is history. He's the reason the war all started. He
As long
started this.
And it doesn't matter if different parts of humanity die. What matters is if Kanzagura lives to Kanzagura.
Mm-hmm. And finding out Vorgosos was hosting the Americani, the last vestiges of the Americani. And Kanzagura was a slave, right? He was a slave to the Americani. And sorry if I'm saying that wrong too. It is Americani, right? It was a slave to the Americani. You have Brethren, who is also this vestige, or is this Americani. Was it Americani? Clarify for me. Was it Americani invention or Americani itself? Was Brethren part Americani?
Americani is the current day's a mistranslation word that the Solon Empire uses for the American AI.
Yeah, I got.
So,
but what was Brethren? Because I know we have Columbia,
Yep.
who then had all the daughters of Columbia, and one of those did that daughter of Columbia then create Brethren? I think, is that the line, right? Was it boom boom boom?
I think you're right. Oh God, I don't.
I wanted to clarify with you, but I
Don't know.
think that's it, because a lot of the world building stuff I'm gonna have to read again. But I know Brethren was, if not direct descendant Americani, was Americani invention or involved in that whole plot line.
And we also get to see the origin of Brethren, of this small child become the seed of Brethren.
Oh, and we figure out that's the case though. The exalted are Americani, right? We figure out that, or at least also vestiges in many ways. And we see more why the Chantry know the Americani existed past the histories and why they are so against all of this in the first place. Because the Americani weren't just the straight evil machines that we thought they were. They were actually on Vorgosos helping to knew that humanity had this ultimate bad to fight, the Watchers, and were preparing humanity in that way. Interesting.
And how actually devilish now that we know with Kanzagura of Vorgosos, Brethren, and all this was in preparation for humanity to fight the Watchers, and that it is the weapon to be used against the Watchers. And what does Kanzagura do with it? He takes control of it in all these years. He keeps it to himself, and he doesn't try to develop any kind of. He doesn't. He believes fighting the Watchers is impossible. It's not even worth trying, and that humanity's greatest weapons against it, and he wastes it. He wastes these great weapons that could help humanity, and he wastes it all just for himself. Makes him even more villainous.
Villain.
Ugh. Despicable.
So, anything else for world building?
I feel like
There's lots.
we're missing something important. I don't think we mentioned it, but I really liked exploring a little bit of Jad and the cultures of Jad, and we get.
Oh yeah.
At the beginning, we glossed right over it, but I enjoyed the Myskolos of Jad and their culture on fighting, how they view Hadrian. We get the Prince of Jad and their relationship. I enjoyed greatly. And just seeing how lava is, literally on the surface, and they have lava rivers that they treat like we treat water rivers. Fun, cool, enjoyable, love it. Cool visuals. I love Jad.
And Cassandra's a sword master of the ninth circle. Oh, cool.
Yeah, so always great. Is there anything else we're missing?
Yes.
Probably.
Moving on the prose.
Moving on the prose. We're missing something, but we got to move on.
Emphasize though, of this stuff so far, for me, it's the thought provokingness and the world lore was just. If I could go higher than 5 stars, I would. Prose. What did you give it?
Prose. I gave a 4.5. Spectacular.
Spectacular. This is the first time I've ever went off the Rambler rating scale.
Oh.
Ever. I give it a 4.99 repeating Rambler rating score. It floored me, but was 0.01 repeating off. from being flooring. And you all know exactly why.
Ah, yes,
That
I know.
Bastard of a sentence. Before I praise all this, we've been giving a glaze session this whole time. Before I praise how beautiful this book is.
You know, why am I giving it a fucking 4.5?
Yeah, wait, why did you say 4 or 5? Yeah, that's kind of low.
Again,
give it a 4.99
it's a rock.
repeating.
Nah, just fuck it. 5. Why am I being a stickler?
Listen, it is a 5, but
why am I being like?
Yeah, why did you say 4 or 5? That's surprising,
the word spoken in my head was spectacular prose, but
because you expect the best out of Rockio.
I know it. I'm not floored. You know what I mean? Like,
because you've already been floored.
I know it's Rockio. I can't be floored by. Floored implies an element of surprise, and I'm not surprised.
It doesn't have to be surprise. It's just like, wow, that's so amazing. You know?
Yes.
Is that what? Yeah.
Yeah. No. Fuck me. What am I? I'm a fucking moron. I'm being way too critical of Rockio. That like I'm putting him in his own like category.
His own separate.
Yeah, like I
scale.
judge Rockio to other Rockio books. And judging Rockio to Rockio, I'm not floored.
Oh, which book do you think did better for Prose?
No, it's great, but Rockio has already had the bar. I'm not surprised.
I'm so confused.
It's fine. It's fine. It's just my expectations.
Your expectations, yeah,
are higher for him.
Got it.
But yeah, no, 5. I am floored. Why would I ever give lower than that? That's ridiculous. Sorry.
Well, 4.99 should be the real score.
Fair enough. Because he doesn't know chess.
Because there's like 7 to 10 times, I should have counted, but it was more than 6, less than 12 times he used chess analogies. I love chess. I'm a big fan. This is what I texted Rockio as soon as I got to that it was in chapter 35, right before Hadrian's death, a couple chapters before that. And they were in the negotiating scene. And this is what it says. The Normans were still mostly on their feet, their agitation plain. They had become pawns on a board where they had thought themselves at least knight or castles. Now, if you're thinking what I'm thinking, listener. Castles are not the piece. It's called a rook. It's a rook. If you watch Gotham Chess, it's the rook. Rook. It's a rook. So the immersion thing, the prose thing that was so devastating to me is Hadrian. I always look up to Hadrian. Hadrian's smarter than me. Rockio is. Oh, I'm reading this prose and I'm going, look at how immaculate and his analogies, his descriptions. And then as soon as there was the error there of, okay, if people don't know chess, it's supposed to be they had become pawns on the board where they had thought themselves at least knights or rooks, it should be said, because he's making an analogy about they thought they were pawns, which are the weak pieces in the front, when they had thought themselves at least knights and rooks, which are more powerful pieces in the back. Should be rooks. Now, you could say to yourself, hey, is this like a translation error, which Rockio did say in the text. He was joking around, though.
I do want to get in the backstory of it, of Austin in the middle of reading Disquiet Gods text Rockio an essay.
Well, I called you first.
Called me, but I just see a text to Rockio of going like, oh my God, Rockio, how could you do this? You called them castles. It's supposed to be rook. Hadrian Marlowe wouldn't get this wrong. And how can you do this?
I was devastated.
It was an essay of complaints of this, and he took a picture of it. Like, you got this wrong. You need to fix it. Change it for your ebook in the next printing. I don't think I've ever seen you at your most autistic. I'm gonna text the author. He got a chess term wrong.
The thing is, I know this book is this whole series is this is going to be known for the rest of time. This is going to be looked back to, and future readers need to look at this and not see that error. I want them to have the flawless experience of not seeing Hadrian have one tiny chip in his armor. I'm trying to save future readers. It's like you beating your dad at arm wrestling for the first time, and you see that. Oh no, Dad, no! So. Also, to clarify, so it could, you could have the lore as a translation error. But earlier in the book,
you did respond with, "Hey, like the whole term Americanier or daemon instead of demon, and that it is a mistranslation passed through time because it is so old that these terms get confused, and that's why Hadrian calls it a castle instead of a rook.
Yeah, he was trying to do that to appease, but he's still wrong because earlier in the book, I looked this up. He says in the book, 1 black rook, 1 white knight, and pawns. ... So he does use the word rook in the book. So even
maybe Hadrian believes the terms are interchangeable. That it's an additional word for it.
Rooks and castles
just like how I call. That's why I call like it's a knight or a horsey. It's interchangeable.
You're telling
terms.
me if Hadrian Marlowe called it a fucking horsey, 1 star. I'm not accepting horsey. Castles is acceptable. I'm not taking horsey.
You know.
So that's why it's a 4.99 because that error must be fixed. I will. It's an amazing book, but that must be fixed one day. And yes, I did text Rockio, and I was.
Yeah, that was.
I had a moment. I called Rich on the phone.
I felt a little embarrassed for us. I'll be honest. It was slightly embarrassing,
just as a unit.
Yes,
I mean, at this point, we've messaged him stuff like these memes. We've messaged him like us removing his book from the shelf and being like, "Hey, we want to put."
Hold on a minute.
We poked at him a lot. And
I felt... Oh, no, I moved it.
No,
okay,
but we recorded being like, hey, we got a cool Hyperion copy. Empire Silence, throw that away. And then put Hyperion on. And then you texted them that meme. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna text them this fun... I want me to read it. It wasn't that bad, was it? Let me see. I won't read what he said, but I will keep that. But I said this. Let me see. This is important before we talk about why the prose is amazing. Christopher, my chess nerd in me had to send this in case you want to fix this error in future copies / ebooks in Book 6, Chapter 35. The correct term is rooks. Castling is a specific move you can make in chess, while rooks are the actual pieces on the board, although they look like castles. So the sentence should read, thought themselves at least knights or rooks. Headcanon could be that Hadrian doesn't know chess very well, or the term changed at some point in the future for some reason. But I had to message this like the pedantic, well, actually, loser I am. I'm sure this is the text you needed with crazy schedule. LOL. I'll message soon about the Claw of the Conciliator date because we're scheduling that soon. And so then I texted a picture, and yeah. And that was my thing. And then I will say a couple days after he was saying, hey, how much that he heard about thoughts on Disquiet Gods, and I said how much I loved it. So it ended good, reader, listener. Unacceptable to call it castles. Unacceptable.
That was one of those texts where I'm going like, are you pushing the privilege a little too far? Of like, we got the author's, private phone number, and that's what you use it for.
Yep.
Hilarious.
Yep.
I love it.
I'm not using it for any other reasons.
So
That's the reason. That's the reason that this connection happened. Yes.
Yeah. God, I love it.
But the prose is amazing.
The prose is amazing.
It's incredible.
I just want to start us right out of the gate of the prose is amazing. And now listen as I read a quote of a quote in this book.
Oh, Tolkien. Is it Tolkien?
Yes. Do you not see now wherefore your coming is to us as the footsteps of doom? She said this last in classical English, and I recognized the phrase. Tolkien, I said. So one, how based is Hadrian Marlowe?
Come on.
He knows the quotes of the legend Tolkien.
J.R.R.
Already I'm like, yep, he is read up on his Tolkien. That means Hadrian is the one. It's great. I love that. I love my Tolkien is quoted in my favorite sci-fi series.
Yes.
This makes me happy. This brings me great joy.
There's so many quotes too. T.S. Eliot was in there too.
Yep.
At one point, I liked all the references we get. Hadrian's knowledgeable of everything except chess. God, it's bothering me. It's okay. Hadrian's a genius. So that's a great quote. He has his melodrama, his poetry lines. Here's one that stood out to me. Have I said that we live in stories? We do. And so those 2 coins, sorry, I should have gave some context. Oberlin, when he was offering him coins in the scene, blah, blah, okay. Have I said that we live in stories? We do. And so those 2 coins Oberlin offered me were the very toll price of hell. But which of us was the ferryman and which the corpse? Ooh, cool. And then here's an awesome battle scene. There's so much. And I found a paragraph that encapsulates some of his awesome battle scenes. I felt a hideous smile creep across my face, and an absurd swell of glee blossomed in my heart. A wicked laugh escaped me, and it was a moment before I mastered myself, hunching over the body of the dead Magus. Turning that laughter into a howl of impotent rage, I hammered on the corpse of the dead sorcerer, pummeled the armored chest until my wounded palm wept blood afresh. Come on.
So good.
Come on. And we've talked about why his prose is so amazing in prior sections as well, so we won't repeat ourselves too much. We're just going to go a couple more quotes. Here's another one. It is not power that builds empires, that asserts order on the stars. It is vision. Vision that the heroic will to act. Where there is that vision, all else follows. Where it is not, there is decadence, desperation, and decay. I love alliteration. I understand all this then, in that moment, though it has taken me much time to order my thoughts on the matter, and perhaps it is only now, by the light of my murdered son and the dark days that have followed it, that I see things clearly. The old order, which balanced upon but one pillar, the Imperium, had passed away. It had been dead a long time, but so tall was it that it had yet to crash to earth. And that's him talking about how the Solan Empire that he once knew is changing forever. And it was the beginning of the end for the Solan Empire.
That the Solan Empire was almost the sole pillar of humanity. It was the largest, most influential, everything circled around it. That there may have been satellites and different offshoots, but when the Solan Empire cried, like, they are heard. And
every road leads to Rome and Solan Empire. It's
that's how powerful it was. And now it's an empire where the Solan Empire never had to beg. They never had to give anything in real negotiation. It needed for nothing. And now it's having to reach out to the Norman Empire and the extra Solarians and negotiate for help.
Mm-hmm.
That is the fall. And that the dynamic between these factions have now changed. For the better, for the worst. Who knows? But it has changed.
And the last very cool quote, words of wisdom. Reputations are lies of consensus.
That's a good line.
I really like that line.
That's a great
line.
It
rings very true. Reputations are lies of consensus. Wow. Pretty cool. Think about it.
I thought about it.
Think about it more.
I like it because, consensus is another word for, democracy. And Rockio is saying that reputations are lies based on democracy because it's cringe.
Check out our merch where you get Democracy's Cringe merch.
Yeah.
Also, if you've watched, I think we're well over 3 hours now.
Yeah, I think so.
If you've watched this much at this point, if you want to join our Patreon, where we do a monthly book club, in the description below, we do a book every month, and we join community book clubs as well. Go ahead, join if you would like. Come hang with us. Otherwise, you can just keep coming and hanging here, watching these episodes. We ramble about this. This is one of our favorite books, Disquiet Gods. Was this our longest episode yet? We'll have to run the numbers. It's close.
It's close. Lonesome Dove was up there. That was a long one.
Wind and Truth was too.
Wind and Truth was a long one too.
Mm-hmm. Different reasons,
but actually, do we, other than the Prose, like a 0.1 off, I think we actually have like the same scores.
Do we?
Like the same.
Did we give? I gave everything a 5 except characters a 4.5, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we have the same score.
Huh.
But ratings are a lie of consensus.
They are. That's the reputation of this book.
Mm,
A lie of consensus between two people.
yeah.
Read and find out for yourself.
Ooh.
What is the truth?
Like they haven't read it.
I know.
All right, that's been an episode. We will see you next episode, and it'll be worse than this one because it won't be Disquiet Gods.
Also, sorry, Nick. You have a long episode to edit.
More money, Nick. That's good.
Yeah, that's right. More money for you.
All right, bye, everybody. We'll see you next episode.
Bye, y'all.